Yo, Atlas speaking, and welcome to part 11 of What If I Was Reincarnated in the World of Pokemon and Became the Greatest Pokemon Tactician. Let the tale begin. Chapter 271. Alex went to Blaziken and patted her shoulder as he proudly said, "Good job." Blaziken looked at Alex and replied, "Not really. I've had tougher fights." Alex suddenly felt that he had already experienced this exact situation, and he tried to remember where he had already heard these words. After a few seconds, he remembered that Scizor had used exactly the same words after his victory against the two Pokemon from Brock. Alex gave a small smile when he said, "I have to admit, as long as you use Scizor's good qualities, he's not a bad role model." Blaziken wanted to contradict Alex's argument and say that Scizor has only good qualities, but remembers how often Scizor and Crobat argue and have to agree with her father on this point. Erica, who had healed her Pokemon, went to Alex and handed him an A-rank rainbow badge with a gentle smile. Alex and Erica shook hands when a staff member announced that the TV broadcast was over. Erica showed a slightly relieved expression when she said, "I hope I haven't embarrassed myself too much and that my fans are not disappointed with my performance." Alex showed a smile. "Most trainers understand that this fight was extremely unfavorable for you and that you don't use a Pokemon that you train with often, so I wouldn't worry about your performance." Erica smiled softly when she said, "You were very nice, but I know that my performance in this fight was really bad. To be honest, I'm a little disappointed with myself." Alex could understand what Erica was feeling right now. It might help you to watch the fight again later and think about whether you could do something better, so you can really see whether you really had a bad performance at this fight or not. Erica looked at Alex with a smile and said, "You are really an interesting person." Alex had a confused expression. "Huh, why are you saying that?" Erica gave a big smile as she said, "A normal person would normally react differently when they see that a person is a little sad, or at least most of the people I know. I'm not saying that your behavior is bad, just that you are a special kind of person." Alex looked at Erica and said curiously, "How would a normal person react?" He thought he knew how most people would react to such a situation, but he wanted to make sure his assumption was correct. Erica started to laugh softly. Hee hee. "That's a good question, but I don't think that's really important." She gave a gentle expression as she said, "You are you, and you are a great person as far as I can see." Alex smiled as he said nothing and thought inwardly, "I hope for her that her eyes for boyfriends are better than those who judge a person's morals." Erica and Alex were talking as a blonde woman who was similar to Erica's age came before Alex. Alex saw how a trainee of Erica appears next to him, and he looked away from Erica and began to look at the blonde woman who was looking at him. The blonde woman looked at Alex and said, "Hello, I know it's a bit rude, but I want to challenge you to a 1-versus-1 fight." Erica looked at the blonde woman and said, "Amelia, please don't make any trouble for the challenger just because you are dissatisfied with my performance." Amelia's eyes softened when she looked at Erica, but she still said with a firm tone, "Erica, please forgive me if I overstep my limits, but I do this for the whole gym. I also hope to be able to show the world that we are not weak." Alex looked at Amelia and said with a smile, "I can understand why you are doing this, but it would be better if Erica challenges me with her strongest Pokemon if you want to show the power of the gym." Erica heard Alex's words and said in a serious tone, "No, we won't do that. A fight like that doesn't make sense, and that wouldn't prove anything." Alex knew that Erica was right, but he wanted to offer it to her so that she could look good in front of her fans. Apart from the fact that he was interested in seeing a Pokemon from Erica's main team. Amelia, who heard the serious tone of Erica, shows an expression of remorse. "I'm sorry, Erica. I didn't mean to." Erica saw Amelia almost start crying and said softly, "It's okay. I understand why you wanted to do that. You worry how people will think of me when they see how I lost so easily today." After a pause, she started to smile when she looked into Erica's eyes. "Don't worry, I can take a bit of criticism." Alex, who saw this heartwarming moment, suddenly felt that he was very unsuitable here. Fortunately, neither of them ignored Alex and started to talk a little with each other. In the end, it was decided that Amelia can fight Alex, but that it will not be broadcast and is just a friendship fight. Erica warned Alex that Amelia is the second strongest in her gym after her and that he shouldn't send a Pokemon below level 49 if he want to have a good chance of winning. Alex, who heard this, felt that Amelia should be really strong for her age. She is only a few years older than Alex but already has Pokemon that is a higher level than him and almost at the same level as Brock. Although she told him that she only has 2 elite level Pokemon, both Pokemon are mid-elite level, so they shouldn't be underestimated. Fortunately, this wasn't an official match where Alex had to call his Pokemon at the same time, which would make it impossible to choose the perfect Pokemon against Victreebel. Amelia knew that Alex's Pokemon all have a level disadvantage and therefore offered to show her Pokemon first to give Alex an advantage so that the fight is fairer. Pokemon, Victreebel. LV, 51. Type, Grass/Poison. Abilities, Chlorophyll. Gender, female. Alex looked serious as he considered what the best option would be. Crobat, who is immune to her master rank move, should be a perfect choice. It is not impossible to poison a poison-type Pokemon, but fortunately, this can only happen with a very large difference in strength, which fortunately is not the case in this fight. Together with all the other factors, Crobat should have the best chance even if the level difference is a bit big. Level 47 against level 51 is no small difference, and this fight should be very difficult to win even if the master rank move is useless. Chapter 272, Victreebel and Crobat ended their fight, and in the end, Crobat was just barely able to secure victory. In the end, Victreebel couldn't use her expert rank or master rank move effectively, which even the level advantage couldn't compensate for. Together with Alex, who uses his popular hit and run tactics against Victreebel, who mostly uses normal rank effective moves. Even with Sunny Day the Victreebel allowed to move faster, she couldn't use the speed she had gained. To Alex's surprise, this fight wasn't completely free despite the huge advantage. Victreebel quickly changed her strategy and used a Swords Dance plus Facade while tanking Crobat's attacks surprisingly well. He didn't think the Crobat's fly move would do so little damage despite that it was a stab bonus and that it was on the expert rank, but he must admit that he underestimated the big difference between a level 47 and a level 51 Pokemon. This level 51 Victreebel was trained by a trainer and was, according to Alex's opinion, hardly comparable to the wild Pokemon with the same level that Alex met on the mountain chain. In the end, Crobat won, but not without losing almost 50% of his HP, even though he used a hit and run tactic. Alex and Erica talk a little longer and even exchange contacts. Everything went so well that Alex felt that his experience of Brock's gym and Erica's gym couldn't be more different. Having a gym leader as a friend is not particularly important for Alex, but it is definitely good to have, even if his friendship with Erica is not very deep. When Alex left the gym, he looked at his TRH device and saw how he had received a message from Maria. "Stop flirting with the bitch and call me, you disgraceful bastard." Wow, someone is in a good mood, thought Alex with a smile. Although the message from Maria called him a disgraceful bastard, Alex knew that Maria wasn't really angry and didn't take it seriously. He understood well that Maria uses that as a half-joke and plainly because she likes the word bastard. Even if Alex didn't know exactly why. Alex himself is a person who often uses sarcasm or exaggeration with Maria so that he understands when what is serious and when not. He called Maria and she took his call almost immediately. "What do you want, woman?" "Alex, how can you be so shameless?" "What are you talking about? You are a woman as far as I know. And you become one if you continue to annoy me." "Ha, joke's on you, that is a bigger problem for you than for me." "Wait, that sounds weird even if that is only a joke. Take a deep breath, you are lucky that you are so good at sex or—" "Stop, Maria, you make me all red." "But—" Maria took a deep breath and got ready for Alex's bad joke. "But what?" "Unfortunately I didn't record that, so can you please say it again with a believable voice?" "Why do you want something like that anyhow?" "Maria, how did you know that I didn't mean that as a joke?" "I already know you well enough to know when you mean something. Although I don't know why you want to keep something like that." "Oh, I wanted to send it to Steven and then make fun of him." "I love it when you act like a bastard." Alex rolled his eyes and said silently, "Yeah, but apparently not when it affects you." Maria, who heard that, said with an ice-cold tone, did you say something, bastard? Alex wasn't scared. What if I? Maria's tone got colder when she said, oh, then someone doesn't want to know what a great thing their girlfriend bought for them, or am I wrong? For Pokemon? Yup, and one thing that would be very, very useful to you. Alex didn't say anything and thought for a second. My beautiful darling, I think your boyfriend will appreciate your gifts, so. Maria interrupted Alex directly in a cold tone, you know what I want to hear. I do that thing that you like so much, tonight. For 1 week. 5 days. Okay, because I'm such a good girlfriend, I'm happy with 8 days. Alex found it both funny and irritating as he thought, what a bitch. Maria. Yes? Do you have a problem? Alex didn't really have a problem doing that thing for 8 days, but he doesn't want to give in so easily. If she knows it's not a big deal for Alex, he can't play it to advantage like now. Alex smiled but said in a serious voice, okay. Good boy. Alex's good mood immediately got worse when he heard this. Maria. Did Lisa tell you how I would react to these words? Smart boy. Say that again and our deal is over. Maria heard Alex's serious tone suppress it further to tease Alex. It wasn't worth it. Alex, you look particularly good today. Alex looked at his TRH device that only showed the number from Maria and thought wordlessly, you don't even try anymore, do you? I hope this is a good gift. Come to our training room and you will see. I am waiting for you. Alex and Maria both hung up and Alex walked over to Team Rocket Base at Pewter City with a smile. He was simply teleported to Pewter City with Gardevoir and then he changed his face with the help of Ditto. Alex entered with Crobat, who followed him because he in Maria's private area and saw how Maria was already training her Pokemon in the training area. Maria looked at Alex and walked over to him with a smile. She waits until Alex has taken off his Ditto mask and gives him a long kiss that Alex answers immediately. When Alex's hands began to move more and more down, Maria breaks the kiss with a provocative expression. Without waiting for the words, she quickly went to a safe place from the training room and took the Pokemon incubate that was there with a smile. In this Pokemon incubate was a Pokemon egg, and judging by the color of a dragon Pokemon. Although you can't always tell the type of Pokemon egg by color, that's often the case. Alex saw this and said confusedly, why are you giving me an egg? Chapter 273, Maria looked at Alex with an annoyed expression when she said an egg. If you knew what kind of egg that is, then you wouldn't say that. Alex looked at the Pokemon egg and said casually, I can tell it's probably a dragon-type Pokemon egg, but I don't understand the reason you're giving it to me. Maria looked at Alex for a moment and said, I already have a dragon-type Pokemon and I don't have enough money for a second one, so I'll give it to you. Alex just looked at Maria with a gentle smile when he heard this nonsense reason. Even if a dragon-type Pokemon costs more Pokemon food, and even if dragon-type items are the most expensive Pokemon-type items, it is no reason for Maria, who has enough money for 2 dragon-type Pokemon, not to keep this egg for herself. Even if Maria thinks she doesn't have enough money, she can still sell it. Dragon-type Pokemon species all have a very high average potential, and it is also generally a type that has almost only monsters as Pokemon species. The reason so few trainers have Dragon-type Pokemon is not because of their strength or potential, but for 2 main reasons. Cost, be it the Pokemon itself, the food, or the items that are supposed to improve the potential. Everything that has to do with a Dragon-type Pokemon is extremely expensive. The amount of money a Dragon-type Pokemon swallow is not what a regular trainer can take. Even normal elite trainers don't want to sacrifice that amount of money for a Pokemon. The second reason is even more important to the average trainer. Very late reaching its full evolution, almost all Dragon-type species reach their final form very late. There are a few exceptions like Druddigon, but most of them have a poorer strength and the disadvantage of having no evolution, and thus making it very difficult to increase its potential. In comparison, the strongest Dragon-type species all have a high level of what they need to achieve in order to achieve their final form. Only a very good trainer with enough money can train a Pokemon to level 50 or even higher, which makes it so that these Pokemon species will never have a large number of trainers. But almost every dragon-type trainer is a monster, which man can clearly see from the many dragon-type gym leaders and Elite Four members. Alex looked at Maria and said coldly, I don't need it. Maria ignored Alex's cold words and showed a happy smile when she said, hee hee, I understand what you are trying to do here, so save your words. I will give you this Pokemon and you will look thankful. Alex went before Maria kissed her and began to pull out an item that he actually wanted to use for himself. He gave Maria the Dragon Fang with a smile when he saw her surprised expression. Maria's emotions were all mixed up that Alex gave her such a valuable item without saying a word. She felt Alex's love and trust that was just more important to her than this item. This is too expensive. Alex looked at Maria with a smile when he said, tell me where you got the Pokemon egg and we'll see which gift is expensive. He has the feeling that Maria wouldn't give him a bad Pokemon egg, so he is sure that Maria's gift is even very expensive. Maria looked at Alex and said, it's not the same. I found it on the island you gave me the map of. Alex, who heard this, said seriously, how did you get the egg? I hope not that you were so stupid you risked your life to steal this egg from two adults Dragon-type Pokemon. On the island, there were many zones that are not explored, so it is not impossible to find a few Dragon-type Pokemon, but Dragon-type Pokemon can only lay eggs when they are in their final form, so it is extremely dangerous to steal a dragon egg. Maria doesn't say anything for a few seconds. Alex, who didn't hear an answer, understood what Maria was probably doing and started to get angry. Are you stupid? Why are you risking your life for a Pokemon egg? You don't even have a Pokemon that can teleport. Maria said quietly, I borrowed a Pokemon with teleport from Lisa. It's still risky and not worth it. Maria, who heard this, suddenly felt a little warm even when she says something else. You can't control what I'm doing. Alex looked at Maria and said, that has nothing to do with control, and you know that too. I just hate the thought that you are so carelessly playing with your life. Please appreciate it more. Maria looked into Alex's eyes and felt that he wasn't lying to her. He would have preferred it if she hadn't taken this risk than having this Pokemon egg. Her eyes started to redden a bit and she had a few tears in her eyes. Alex hugged her and neither said anything for a few minutes. After Maria had calmed down a bit, she said quietly, I'll be more careful from now on. Then she looked at Alex and said, but then you have to stick to it too. Alex gave a gentle smile when he said, you don't know, but I fight in the wild like a coward who never takes a risk, so it makes little difference to me. Maria laughed softly and the mood began to get better again. Alex smiled and said in an indifferent tone, so what kind of Pokemon is in the egg? Maria shows a proud expression when she said the parents were two Hydreigon, so what do you think? Alex showed a shocked expression. Wait, Hydreigon? In this world, Hydreigon only reaches its final form at level 64, which is what makes this Dragon-type Pokemon the most unpopular of all Dragon-type species. A Pokemon species that only reaches its final form from the champion level is almost unusable, and only a few trainers from each region can bring such a Pokemon to its final form. But Hydreigon has a great advantage over almost all other Dragon-type species. Thanks to its extremely late evolutions, the species also has extremely good average potential. Many professors in this world explain that the Pokemon species must have a particularly good potential, or that most of the Dano never become a Zweilous or a Hydreigon if their potential is too bad. But even with an extremely high average potential, only 20% of all Dano manage to reach their final form, even if this dragon species is protected by its parents after its birth until it becomes a Zweilous. This led to the fact that the Hydreigon species, even with an average potential of S rank, are extremely unpopular. Even with an S rank potential, it is almost impossible to train this Pokemon to level 64 in less than 20 years, and few trainers want to train one Pokemon that long. But that wasn't the reason Alex is surprised. The reason was that the parents of this egg have to be in their final form to be able to lay eggs at all, and that means that the parents of this egg are two champion-level Pokemon and both are of the same species. That would mean that both parents are very talented, even for the ridiculously talented species of Hydreigon, and the chance that this child has good potential is ridiculously high. Alex looked in shock at the egg in the Pokemon Incubate. Chapter 274, Alex looked at Maria and said, "This is way too valuable." Maria looked at Alex and said with a small smile, if I sell it I can only get the price for an S-rank Dano that is about as expensive as your present. Alex remembers how a shallow gold Dratini was sold for 100 million at the auction and showed a confused expression for a second. But when he thought about it, he understood why this Dano, which is very likely to have a gold or even a deep gold potential, is never worth half as much. For all trainers, the Dano and the Dratini are both born S-rank Pokemon in the one stage and therefore have no difference in terms of potential in the market value. But because Dano is the most unpopular dragon-type species, it cannot be compared in value to Dratini, and a price of 30 or 40 million is a good deal for an S-rank Dano. Maria didn't know how good the potential of Dano is, but because the two parents of this Pokemon are both of the Hydreigon species, she believed that there was a good chance that this Dano could reach the SS rank with tolerable investment. But she would rather use the money for her Gible, which would reach its final form faster, and she still needed money to get her Arbok up to the SS rank, which is not cheap. But Maria didn't want to sell this special Pokemon for this ridiculously low market price, so that in the end she decided to give it to Alex. She had the feeling that Alex, who has 2 SS rank Pokemon already, he has 3 but she only knows about 2, could use the potential of this Pokemon better than she could. Alex understood Maria's reason, but even if that is her reason for her action, it shows an incredible trust to give Alex such a valuable Pokemon. It costs about as much as a Dragon Fong, but Alex and Myra knew that it was not comparable and that Maria's gift was worth many times more than the Dragon Fong. Alex looked happy when he felt Maria's trust. Why are you so cute today? Maria just looked at Alex with a disgusting expression and said coldly, don't talk so disgustingly. Haha. Alex laughed and gave Maria a kiss, who showed an expression of disgust. He was really happy and thought about what he can give Maria to compensate her for this gift. His Dragon Fong was a good start, but he felt it was not enough. He thought of Arbok, who had the same born potential as Bastiodon, and suddenly knew what to give Maria as a present. Alex looked at Maria and said, I still have an appointment, so I have to go now. I'll see you tonight. Maria rolled her eyes and said, yes, of course. Makes sense. You came here for 5 minutes and now you have to go to an appointment. I don't see any problem with this logic. Haha, okay, you have me. But I won't let you stop me from buying you a present today. Maria said nothing for a few seconds. Then she said lightly, buy me something expensive. This time Alex started to roll his eyes when he says, is that reverse psychology? Do you think I don't understand what you're trying to do? Without saying another word, he left the room. Maria just looked at Alex's back and gave a gentle smile. Alex, who is teleported to Celadon City, went to his favorite place to buy Pokemon items. Even if it is a bit more expensive than in the Team Rocket shop, the stock is much larger and you don't have to wait long for someone to sell an item that you need. With enough money, you can often buy very rare items. Alex, who entered the building, saw a luxurious reception room with 2 beautiful women standing there. Together with the professional smile and the stylish suit, this reception room created a good atmosphere. One of the women recognized him and gave a particularly warm smile. Good afternoon, Mr. Stark. What can I do for you today? Alex ignored her slightly flirtatious smile and said, I want to talk to Jack. The beautiful woman showed a slightly disappointing expression and called Jack immediately. After the call, she said with a smile, Mr. Stark, the manager is waiting for you in his office. Would you like me to take you there? Alex said in an indifferent tone, no is okay. I already know the way. He passed several bodyguards and corridors before he stood in front of Jack's office. With his member card, which he showed to the bodyguards, he was able to go through all areas that customers can enter without any problem and reach the door in front of Jack's office. In front of the door, there was also a bodyguard with a Pokemon, but he recognized Alex and already knew from Jack that Alex would come soon, so he hadn't stopped him. Bodyguard's Pokemon was a level 52 Primeape with deep silver potential, which of all Bodyguard's Pokemon he had seen was the highest level Pokemon. He walked into Jack's office and saw Jack greet him with a smile. Alex, my favorite customer. What can I do for you today? I need high-quality poison-type items. Oh, you're so straightforward, but that's what I like about you. Wait for a second, I'll give you a list of all poison-type items that meet your criteria. Alex gave a small smile when he heard Jack's words. Sound good? He and Jack have already done a lot of successful business and both profited greatly from one another. Alex looked at the items on the printed sheet of paper and chose those that were best in his opinion. 1.8 million, Mid-Elite Venomoth Corpse with S-Rank potential. 2.5 million, Late Elite Mook Corpse with S-Rank potential. 3 million, Late Elite Venusaur Corpse with S-Rank potential. 7.5 million, Champion Level Tentacruel Corpse with S-Rank potential. 8.5 million, 3 scales reinforced by an SS rank Arbok on the champion level with poison-type energy. 27.5 million, Champion Level Nidoking Corpse with SS rank potential. It's a shame that his MVP card only gives 10% on the sale of items, or he could save several million in this purchase. In the end, Alex paid 50.8 million Poke Dollars for the items and only had 25,490,350 Poke Dollars left. But he didn't show any unhappy expression that he had spent so much money. He is sure that Maria would be very enthusiastic if he gave her these items for her Arbok and her Arbok thereby reached the SS rank. Alex had already considered a way so that Maria only use these items for her Arbok and not waste them on her other Pokemon. Maria already knew that the born potential of a Pokemon is very important and that only Gible and Arbok were born with an S-rank potential, so it is not difficult for Alex to convince Maria that only Gible and Arbok can reach SS rank. He already believed that Maria would make the right decision even without his stepping into it, but he just wanted to be on the safe side. Chapter 275. After Alex had spent more than 50 million on items and put them in his TRH device, Alex felt that he had a good present for Maria that was at least comparable to hers. He left the Celadon City Shopping Center with a smile as he made his way back to Team Rocket Base with the help of Gardevoir and Ditto. Next morning in Alex's room. Alex lay next to Maria when he woke up with a light head. He quietly left the bed and slowly began to make his way to the bathroom. After giving his present to Maria, he talks a lot with Maria about Pokemon potential. Although he quickly realized that it was relatively unnecessary when Maria said, "I know that only Arbok and Gible can reach the SS ranks." It was not a surprise because Maria already knew how important the born talent of a Pokemon is. Alex wanted to comfort her that her other Pokemon couldn't make it to this rank, but Maria showed a smile when she said, "Alex, that all my Pokemon are already on the S rank is lucky in itself. You don't need to cheer me up. If Arbok and Gible reach the SS rank, then that's a miracle for me." When he heard Maria's positive response, he really felt that his words of comfort were really inappropriate. If a normal trainer has an A-rank Pokemon, he treats it like a treasure, and if a normal elite trainer has an S-rank Pokemon, he would also treat it as a treasure. So that Maria only has Pokemon on the S rank is already one thing where most trainers can only look envious. Even not all gym leaders from Kanto have an SS rank Pokemon, so that his words are really unnecessary. As he thought more about this fact, he felt that Maria was really a good trainer even if he had a concern. When Maria told him how she had stolen an egg from 2 champion-level Pokemon, he felt that this was not the first time she had done something like this dangerous. Notably, that all her Pokemon are on the S rank is, in Alex's opinion, indirect evidence that she had earned a lot of money through such dangerous actions. The amount of money to bring so many Pokemon to S rank is not small, and especially the fact that Arbok has a deep gold potential shows that Maria had spent a lot of money on Arbok alone. Fortunately, Maria has already promised Alex to stop such risky actions. It is a dangerous game, and as soon as you are ready to play it more often, it can quickly go wrong. Alex and his Pokemon eat breakfast together in a calm mood. Due to lack of space, not all of Alex and Maria's Pokemon can have breakfast together in Alex's room, so that they have breakfast separately. Alex missed the large rooms of the expensive hotel that could make this possible, but of course, he wouldn't leave the base because of that. Maria and Alex already spend a lot of time in the large training room every day, so that a good breakfast hardly makes a difference. Alex noticed that most of his Pokemon are much more peaceful today than usual, but when he saw the glances from his Pokemon on the egg in the Pokemon incubate, he understood why everyone is so silently today. He smiled as he looked at the group of Pokemon. You already know that dragon-type eggs usually take longer to hatch, right? Vulpix said out loud, but Sister Gardevoir said she felt like the egg was about to hatch. Alex showed a slightly curious expression when he said, Gardevoir, how do you know that? Although he can also feel the life energy from the egg, he cannot tell whether the Pokémon will soon hatch. Father, if you pay attention to the exact location and amount of life energy, you can guess that it won't be long before the Pokémon will hatch. Alex showed a confused expression when he heard this explanation. Is that too difficult for me? He could feel the life energy from the egg, but the location and the amount were very imprecise for him. It's like a visually impaired person looking without glasses. He knew it was there, but it's very vague to him. Gardevoir gave an encouraging smile as she said, No, Father, that's very easy. I've been able to do that since my birth. Alex twitches his eyes slightly when he heard that. He remembered how Ralts couldn't even stand straight after she was born, and now he heard something like that. He shook his head as he stopped comparing himself to a psychic-type Pokémon. When Alex started to enjoy his breakfast again, he heard a loud noise. He looked in the direction of loud noise and saw how the egg now had a hole. Alex got up and quickly walked to the egg. The other Pokémon also stopped eating and looked at the egg with an excited expression. He looked intently at the egg, and a few seconds felt like minutes or even hours. But suddenly he saw how slowly the egg was completely broken from inside, and a small Dano was visible for Alex and his Pokémon. It wasn't even half the size of a normal Dano, but Alex wasn't worried. He knew it would grow rapidly in its growing stage. Alex immediately tried to take it in his hand, which he succeeded, but not without the Dano chewing on his hand. He looked at Dano, who was chewing on his hand, and said, You are lucky that you are so cute. Dano looked at Alex when he heard his words, but only for a moment, as he continued to chew on Alex's hand. Fortunately, the bodies of people in this world are much better, and Dano was just born, or Alex would never react to it so calmly. Dano had no teeth but an eagle-type mouth, so it is not really comfortable for Alex. Alex, who thought about how this Pokémon species also ate other Pokémon together with Pokémon Berry, felt that he should be more careful later when he wants to take Dano in his arms. Even if he felt that Dano was just playing, he didn't want to bet a piece of his hand on it. Dano suddenly stopped biting Alex's hand and started to cuddle Alex when it started to get too tired. Alex, who was sitting on a chair, saw this cute moment and started to show a slight smile. He suddenly felt that Dano had really only played and didn't mean anything bad when it started to chew on his hand. As if his curiosity couldn't take it any longer, he started to look at the information from Dano. Pokémon, Dano. LV, 1. Type, Dark/Dragon. Ability, Hustle. Gender, Male. Potential, Deep Gold. Chapter 276. Alex immediately suppressed his instinct to cheer out loud when he read the words Deep Gold to not wake Dano when he suppressed his excitement. He was hoping that this Pokémon had good potential because of his two talented parents and because of the ridiculously good average potential of this Pokémon species, but he still didn't think that Dano would have a Deep Gold potential. For Alex, this is only comparable to one Pokémon that he had seen so far, and that is Steven's Metagross, who was also born with a Deep Gold potential. According to Steven, Metagross was the Pokémon that by far needed the least resources of all his Pokémon to get on the SS rank. This statement proves for Alex that all of Steven's other Pokémon were born with a Born Gold potential and only Metagross was born with a Deep Gold potential, or Steven lied to Alex, which Alex did not believe. The fact that Alex now has a Pokémon that is comparable to Steven's Metagross when it reaches level 64 is incomprehensible for Alex. Alex remembers one thing when he thought, though a thing is a bit weird. He knew that the potential of the children almost always had a worse potential than the average, born, potential of the parents. Even if both parents of Dano were born with a Deep Gold potential, which is extremely unlikely, there is a high chance that Dano will only be born with a Gold potential. This is a basic knowledge of all Pokémon trainers, but Alex suddenly noticed a detail that he hadn't really paid attention to before. In every book that he had read on this subject, words like almost always are used without being explained in detail. At first, he thought that it would be used because the exception confirms the rule, but now that he had seen the potential of Dano, he felt that there was more to it. As Alex thought more about it, he noticed that more and more gaps emerged when thinking about the basic knowledge he had learned. If on average the potential of the children is always worse or in rare cases is only equally good, why doesn't the potential of the species change after several generations? Shouldn't the potential of Pokemon get worse and worse after a few generations? Even if wild Pokemon have a lot of Pokemon as children and one or two with the same potential as their parents, it is not always those with the best potential that survive but those with good luck that survive. It should logically lead to the fact that after each generation the potential of the species always gets a bit worse. But Alex hadn't read anything about it, and he knew that the number of high-level Pokemon was 50 years ago much smaller, so that it is impossible that the potential of Pokemon has gotten worse now. Apart from the fact that such information cannot be hidden for long, Alex felt that the knowledge he had learned is incomplete. It doesn't explain when the not almost always Pokemon are born. What requirement, what probability, how you can recognize it, or other knowledge about these unusual Pokemon. Alex didn't believe that something like that happened extremely seldom, or a few exceptions couldn't hold up the full potential of a species. It has to happen relatively regularly or have certain prerequisites that can be met. He knew that it is not possible to find out something without precise experiments on this subject. Only Alex can see a clear difference between a Pokemon potential and doesn't have to work with such severe restrictions as A and S rank to separate the potential of a Pokemon. The difference between a born shallow silver Pokemon and a born deep silver Pokemon is huge but not visible to everyone else. But Alex doesn't think he's the only one who knew about these special Pokemon. There are many professors in this Pokemon world, and Alex is not so naive to think that none of them notice that there is such a large illogical gap in one of the most important topics of trainers. The theme of Pokemon potential is one of the most researched topics in the world, and that such a large piece of the puzzle is missing is extremely suspicious. The more Alex thought about this topic, the more he felt a cold shiver on his back. Alex couldn't help but laugh a little when he thought, haha, I'm starting to feel that I'm already starting to create a conspiracy theory. Even though Alex laughed, he felt he had discovered something very important. Although he didn't know exactly what to do with this knowledge. Alex stopped thinking about this strange topic and started looking at Dano with a smile. He knew no matter how it has happened, he hit a jackpot today. Even if Dano is, unfortunately, not a Pokemon species that quickly becomes useful, is this probably still the best investment that Alex had seen in this world. In addition, Zweilous is not an extremely weak Pokemon species and is comparable to the final form of a few mediocre Pokemon species. Although level 50 sounds like a big jump, Alex knew that jumping from level 50 to level 64 is not even comparable to jumping from level 1 to level 50 in this world. Alex is not sure how long it will take, but he is sure that it will take years and not a few years. Even if it had the same potential as Metagross, Alex knew that his Dano had to endure a great disadvantage. Metagross, who had his full strength from level 45, is useful much faster, and it is also not to be forgotten that it is a shiny. Alex has found in a book that shiny Pokemon on average have a better potential of their species, but he couldn't find more about shiny Pokemon. He wasn't sure whether a shiny Pokemon has other advantages that one can hardly see, but he didn't believe that these advantages are worth the price for a shiny Pokemon. Alex stopped thinking about Metagross when he smiled and thought, when did I start comparing my Pokemon with such monsters? Chapter 277, 1 month later. Alex sits undisturbed while meditating as his Pokemon perform their daily exercises in the Team Rocket training room. The reason why he is alone in this training room, which is normally used by him and Maria together, is because Maria went back into the wilderness to train yesterday. Alex, who recently trained with his Pokemon in the wilderness for 4 weeks, did not want to train again in the wilderness after less than 1 week so that he does not follow Maria. He knew that his Pokemon sometimes needed a break and that a long training time in the wilderness could not necessarily have a positive effect on his Pokemon. He trained for 4 weeks in the mountain range where many elite Pokemon live and where he had a positive experience last time. But unfortunately, it was no longer comparable with the first 10 days, and his Pokemon no longer level as fast as in these 10 days, even if, in Alex's opinion, they still level very quickly. He didn't know if it was because his Pokemon got used to this place and therefore did not level up as quickly even if they were fighting against many high-level elite Pokemon, or there was another reason that he had not yet fully understood. Alex would like to know more about Pokemon levels, but unfortunately in this world knowledge is not free and hardly available for free. Especially when such knowledge is important and difficult to research. Most of the free or cheap knowledge is something you can easily find out for yourself or very general knowledge. He has knowledge from the games in his old world, but unfortunately, this is not transferable because in this world a Pokemon can also win a level without defeating Pokemon, and many factors depend on when and how fast a Pokemon levels up. But even if his Pokemon don't level up as fast as they did last time, the speed is extremely fast. When Alex looked regularly at his Pokemon, he saw suddenly Ditto go up a level while he trained like the other Pokemon. He showed a happy and encouraging expression that Ditto had finally gained a level. Alex also looked at the other Pokemon, but they didn't change compared to this morning. He noticed that month that Ditto started to level again much slower than the rest of the Pokemon at similar levels. For example, it took Crobat, Scizor, and Gardevoir just a little more than 20 days to level up, even though they are at a much higher level. Apart from the fact that it should be much harder to make a level on level 47 than on level 45. But Ditto still needs this longer than these three Pokemon, and it was almost 10 days longer, which is not a good sign for Alex. He felt that Ditto would start getting slower and slower to level up if he didn't improve his potential. Alex knew it was going to happen sooner or later, but he wasn't really worried about it. The level speed was still okay and very good compared to other elite trainers. In addition, he will get a matching full-blood legendary Pokemon item for Ditto anyway if he was strong enough. If it were up to him, he would immediately look for it, but from the information he had from full-blood legendary Pokemon, he knew that it is suicide to look for such a Pokemon now. He didn't want to bet his life on the goodwill of a Pokemon he didn't know or understand. Alex also noticed a few things during this month from the other Pokemon. First, Crobat, Scizor, and Gardevoir took longer and longer to reach a level after crossing the 45 level line. Even in an extremely good training area with lots of wild elite Pokemon for 4 weeks, they were only able to complete one level after more than 20 days. Although one level up in this period is no longer comparable to the times before the elite level, Alex was still very satisfied. Bastiodon, who is now level 47, had made a level on the first day of the 4 weeks in the wildness, so that Alex counts his 2 level ups rather as 1 level up. Likewise is Umbreon at the beginning of the 2nd week, in which wildness 1 level advanced, and Alex had the feeling that she will rise again soon. Alex also noticed that Vulpix and Shuppet started leveling more slowly, even though they fought a lot in the wild against Pokemon that were always a level or 2 higher than their level. But now that Alex's Pokemon has barely made 1 level after a month, he felt that the level 35 to level 40 line is not that bad. If you can do 5 levels in less than 2 months, Alex felt that it was still very fast. The Pokemon that had seen the most change was Dano, who is now slowly gaining combat experience. Even after Dano had reached level 5 after 8 days, Alex did not let him fight immediately but did light training with him first. As with all other young Pokemon, Alex slowed down the training time and didn't care about level efficiency, but about that Dano understands why he needs this and to get him used to fight and training without him become overloaded. He has had a good experience with this approach with Blaziken, Gardevoir, and other Pokemon, so that he wants to do it the same way with Dano. Also, Alex doesn't want to overwhelm Dano so that training and fighting will be seen in a negative light to him. Chapter 278. During this month, Alex spent 4 weeks in the mountain chains and caught many valuable items and Pokemon that he could sell for good money. Especially the number of S-rank Pokemon he met this week were not small, even if most of them are above the elite level. But he still managed to catch a shallow gold golem at level 35 and was able to collect several S-rank Pokemon corpses. Although he had killed a lot of Pokemon, Alex didn't feel sorry for the Pokemon that attacked him. He also found several moonstones of various rarities and other useful items that he could sell for a good price. Even if he couldn't find anything as valuable as the diamonds in the cave, he made a good amount of money. In those 4 weeks, he made almost 40 million, which was an extremely good sum even if the sale of the shallow gold golem under the elite level alone had made 12 million. But even if this area is very worthwhile, it wasn't safe to be in this place, and Alex experienced a situation that was very dangerous. In a fight against a level 52 Pokemon that his Pokemon had fought as a group, suddenly a level 54 Pokemon came from the air, and because Gardevoir and Crobat were fighting, they could not immediately recognize that these Pokemon were approaching them before it was too late. This level 54 Fearow was extremely high in the air and took a dive on the group when they just spotted him. But because of its extremely high speed, it only took a little more than 2 seconds to gain more than 400 meters of distance. Fearow used Fly and tried to hit Blaziken, who was still fighting with the other Pokemon. However, Scizor quickly recognized the situation and managed to protect Blaziken with a Protect, even if the shield did not endure all the damage and he received most of the damage. Because of the sudden appearance of another extremely strong elite Pokemon, the whole situation is a bit out of control. Especially when the level 52 Pokemon used the opportunity to hit Scizor with a move after he had already lost more than 50% of his HP. Even with all the buff, Scizor was instantly knocked unconscious and lay there consciously in the middle of two enemies. If at that moment one of these Pokemon had enough time to move or even use their claws or teeth to use against Scizor, then it could be that Scizor would not be seen the next day. With the life energy used up and without a chance to defend himself, Scizor was just a bit of tough meat for the two Pokemon. Fortunately, Alex's Pokemon reacted very quickly, and Gardevoir quickly ran to Scizor to teleport him to safety while all other Pokemon attacked the two elite Pokemon without fear. In addition, even sent Alex's Bastiodon to the battlefield to give Gardevoir more distraction and to tank the attack from the new enemy. Alex was relatively defenseless after Bastiodon was no longer there, but he knew that there were no other Pokemon around, and he did not believe that it is so unfortunate that an elite Pokemon will now appear in a short time with a similarly ridiculous speed as Fearow. He'd rather take this ridiculously small chance than to not make this dangerous fight safe for his Pokemon. Teleport Gardevoir together with Scizor in front of Alex, and Alex immediately started healing Scizor when Gardevoir went back to the battlefield. Teleport is very useful but not usable in such a chaotic fight as a way back for all his Pokemon. Fortunately, the level 52 Pokemon was already very injured and Alex's Pokemon were buffed so that they could defeat it quickly. But during this time the level 54 Pokemon could do a lot of damage to Alex's group, and Alex's Pokemon have prepared for an extremely tough fight. Fearow must have felt the danger too, and he stopped preparing moves when he flew back into the air, and as if all of Alex's Pokemon had the same thoughts, they stopped attacking Fearow. Although this Pokemon almost caused the death of one of them, each of them understood that if they keep fighting it can happen quickly that one of them really dies, if not more than one. Both sides just looked at each other for a few seconds before Fearow decided to fly away. But even though Alex and his Pokemon had an extremely dangerous experience, not one Pokemon had any concerns about continuing to train in this area. Especially Alex remembers how he was attacked by extremely strong Pidgeotto at that time in the Viridian Forest and only barely survived. He knew that as a trainer, especially in the wild, it is an occupation that can quickly cost your life and the life of your Pokemon. Alex even felt a relief that he had seen that his Pokemon could react perfectly to such a situation and that this experience could be gained without a sacrifice. Dano, who has already reached a height of almost 1 meter, finished his training and began to watch Umbreon as she trained. Umbreon saw how Dano came near her and watched her silently as she trained, showed a small smile. She felt that her new young brother was really cute. The two were really almost inseparable, thought Alex when he saw this scene. After Dano was born, he spent a lot of time with Alex and recognized him as his father, even if Alex didn't understand why this was happening. He had a suspicion that it had something to do with the bite or that other Pokemon called him that, but he wasn't sure if that was really the reason. But Alex wasn't the person Dano wanted to spend the most time with, even when Alex was in second place. Umbreon was the Pokemon that Dano talked to the most, or even wanted to play. Alex had the feeling that the reason that both a Dark-type Pokemon had played a role why this happened, but he didn't feel that it was the only reason. But because of this popularity, Umbreon was also the Pokemon that was bitten by Dano the most, even if, according to her own statement, she said that she hardly felt it. In addition, in Alex's group, each Pokemon was bitten by Dano at least once. Even with Crobat or Scizor, Dano went without fear to them as when he didn't recognize the danger of biting a mean-looking elite Pokémon. Crobat and Scizor reacted very calmly and even let Dano chew on them. In comparison, Alex noticed that after each day the bite from Dano got a bit stronger and stronger and the bite started to get a bit painful. At the end of the 7th day, Alex even had several bite marks on his body. He suddenly felt that not even Lars had as many bite marks on his body as he did. Fortunately, Dano stopped biting Alex and other Pokémon after he left his baby period and reached level 5. Alex was extremely happy that the Pokémon luckily didn't stay that long in this period and that the problem had resolved itself. After watching Dano a bit, he opened his TRH device and saw that it was time to slowly stop. Alex set an appointment with a gym leader 3 days ago and in an hour his fight will start. He got up and said with a smile, "Okay, enough for today. Rest for half an hour and prepare for a tough fight." Alex knew that the fight against this gym leader shouldn't be as easy as with the other two. Chapter 279, Vermilion City. Alex walked slowly with his Gardevoir next to him to the streets of the city as he thought about which Pokémon are best against this gym leader. The gym leader Alex is thinking about is Lieutenant Surge who, in his opinion, should not be easy to defeat like the other 3 gym leaders. Compared to the other 3 gym leaders Alex had already fought against, Lieutenant Surge is much stronger and shouldn't be underestimated. Alex, who had been in this world for over a year, knew a lot about the Kanto gym leaders who in Kanto are similar to celebrities and political figures rolled into one. Lieutenant Surge at this point at a time is rated as much as Koga and Sabrina by most trainers. The second strongest gym leader from Kanto is Blaine, who reportedly has a half-blood Moltres and even a good relationship with the legendary full-blood Pokémon Moltres. Giovanni didn't have a legendary Pokémon and his full strength is not understood by anyone, but his title as strongest gym leader was unbreakable. The main reason why Giovanni is in the first place, even if no one knows his full strength, is that Giovanni had never even lost an S-rank gym badge fight as a gym leader and that although he had not used his full strength, even Blaine didn't have such a perfect record. Although the top 2 strongest gym leaders in Kanto are clear for most trainers, it is not so unanimous for places 3 to 5. Erica also has a lot of fans and there are always some extreme fans who say that she is the strongest, but even most of the fans admit the Lieutenant Surge, Koga, and Sabrina are currently a lot stronger even if they say that Erica had better potential than at least Lieutenant Surge. Lieutenant Surge, Koga, and Sabrina are at a similar level at this point and generally at a very similar strength level even though most of the trainers are ranking Lieutenant Surge as the weakest of the 3 in official fighting. Of the 3 gym leaders' main teams, 6 Pokémon, Koga's team is the one with the highest average level and Sabrina had the ability to help her Pokémon with her psychic powers. In official fights, you can use psychic powers as long as you don't influence your opponent or his Pokémon. Because of this, she can use her abnormal psychic powers to strengthen her Pokémon or give her Pokémon telepathically commands. Compared to these 2 monsters, the average level from Lieutenant Surge's Pokémon are the weakest and Lieutenant Surge also had no special skills to compensate for this disadvantage. But he was still viewed on a very similar level as Koga and Sabrina by most because he had a specialty that the other 2 did not have. Lieutenant Surge was the trainer with the most elite-level Pokémon and reportedly there are more than 40+ elite-level Pokémon under him. In addition, more than half of his elite Pokémon are on the mid and high elite level. That's why many say the Lieutenant Surge in a fight without rules his Pokémon are much stronger than those of Koga or Sabrina. Although this is only strength in terms of Pokémon and in a fight without rules it can well happen that Koga or Sabrina win against Lieutenant Surge. Sabrina's psychic powers or the deadly sneak attacks of Koga are not something that can be easily defeated with a number of strong Pokémon. But because of these strengths and weaknesses of the 3, most trainers or even the normal population disagree about who is the strongest of the 3. For Alex, who is from another world, this is no question. Although in this world, not all things worked like in the game, anime, or manga, there were a few things where Alex is very sure. In terms of gym leaders and Elite Four members, this world has not yet had any major deviations from the games he had played, so that he is sure that Koga is the strongest of the 3. Only Koga managed to become an Elite Four member of the 3. Although Sabrina probably has the strength to become an Elite Four member in the future like Koga, Alex doesn't know for sure. He can imagine that with Sabrina's talent and strength for her young age she can still be stronger than Koga in the future and only likes the gym leader position and therefore does not become an Elite Four member, but that is not to say with certainty. In comparison, Lieutenant Surge is the oldest trainer and is even overtaken by Erica in the game and, according to Alex's assessment, is the weakest of the three in terms of future prospects. But that is only in comparison to these two monsters, and under no circumstances is Lieutenant Surge a trainer who can be underestimated. Even if all of Alex's Pokemon are at level 59, he didn't think he could win against Lieutenant Surge and his army of elite Pokemon. Even though Lieutenant Surge doesn't have a champion-level Pokemon, he is extremely strong, and even a trainer with a weak champion-level Pokemon, level 60 or 61, wouldn't dare to be arrogant towards Lieutenant Surge. Alex feels that Lieutenant Surge is only strong if you don't have a Pokemon that has the strength to defeat all of his mid and late elite level Pokemon with a hit or two. But the number of trainers who meet this requirement is very small, so Lieutenant Surge is really a ridiculously strong trainer. Alex, who knew all this, had great expectations for this fight and he hoped that his Pokemon could gain important experience. A young man suddenly came up in front of Alex as he was making his way to the Vermilion City gym and he said with a smile, "Are you, Alex?" Alex suppressed his urge to roll his eyes when he said with a fake smile, "Yeah, do you want an autograph?" Although Alex was already well known in Kanto, he became even more famous after his fight with Brock and Erica. He started to meet more and more fans who want an autograph or want to start a conversation with him. Alex, who had a rise in fame, did not feel happiness but sadness that more idiots were annoying when he walked through a city without a mask. The young man didn't stop smiling when he said, "No, I came to challenge you to a Pokemon battle." Alex, who heard this, almost showed an annoyed expression when he calmly said, "I don't have time. I have an appointment in 10 minutes. The young man shows a sad but understandable expression as he watched Alex leave. Although Alex's face hardly changed in this exchange, he thought completely different. "Fuck, is that annoying, and all because of this bastard who filmed my fight with this weak Raticate trainer." After his ridiculously easy fight with a person who challenged him in front of everyone and after the fight was filmed by a person and published online, Alex realized that he was being challenged more and more by trainers. The problem was that all of these trainers are extremely weak and that Alex doesn't want to waste time with these people. Chapter 280. Alex, who was approaching a large built chain near the port, could slowly smell the fresh sea air as he walked through the streets of the city. Vermilion City has a very large port and several ships that leave here every day, but compared to other port cities in Alex's world, it is a very small port city. Alex came slowly to the front of the Vermilion City gym, which, compared to the other gyms, had a large steel door with a camera as an entrance. Although this gym also looked nice with the lightning bolts on the building, the gym didn't look as nice for Alex as other gyms, not that it was really important to him. He went to the door and before he could push the button on the door began to open and Alex could see into this large building. As soon as he entered the building, he saw Lieutenant Surge already stood in an arena with a serious expression and talked to a trainee. Lieutenant Surge had a military-looking suit in almost all green and a belt with several pokeballs on it. He looked like a high-ranking person in an army. Alex knew that Lieutenant Surge belonged to Team Rocket and that he shouldn't actually know this. Although Lieutenant Surge very likely knows that Alex is part of Team Rocket, he can't bring up this topic. He'll pretend he doesn't know anything. Lieutenant Surge looked in the direction of Alex and said with a small smile, "So you're the kid that everyone calls a monster? I'm happy to finally meet you in person." After Alex defeated 2 gym leaders without losing a Pokemon, many called Alex a monster. He gave a small smile. "Honestly, not many people call me that." Lieutenant Surge looked at Alex with his cold eyes. He looked at Alex for a few seconds while he said, "I have very high hopes for this fight." Alex looked at the eyes of Lieutenant Surge and only saw extremely cold eyes that betrayed no emotions. He even felt some kind of pressure from this glance that he cannot fully explain. Alex felt as if he was facing an extremely aggressive Pokemon that can barely suppress his instincts to attack him. But even if Alex has a new respect for Lieutenant Surge, he did not show it and kept a small smile without panicking. He was not a trainer who had never killed or was almost killed himself, so that such a cold pressure cannot paralyze him or make him anxious. Alex stopped smiling when he said, "Do you want to start?" Lieutenant Surge started to laugh slightly when he acknowledged the words from Alex. "Haha, you remind me of a young me, but let's stop talking and get started. We're going to fight in a 3v/S3 format. Tell me the average level of the 3 Pokemon so we can start." Alex didn't show a surprised expression that Lieutenant Surge had enough elite Pokemon to choose a 3v/S3 format and smile relaxing. He has already decided in advance which Pokemon he will select for all 3 formats so that he did not have to think about it. Alex called that level 47, and Lieutenant Surge's team could now only use a Pokemon team with no higher average level than 48. One level difference as the average level in the teams is allowed to make it easier for the gym leaders to have the matching Pokemon for the challenge. For example, if a Lieutenant Surge's team has an average level of 47.5, he can still use it even if his team average level is not exactly 47. Alex noticed how cameras were brought around the whole arena and that this fight was broadcast again with a relaxed expression. He's got used to the cameras a bit, even if it still felt weird to him. After 30 minutes, Alex and Lieutenant Surge are in the arena together with the referee. The referee gave a sign and both trainers started to get their first Pokemon out of their Pokeballs. A Scizor and an Electrode appeared almost simultaneously in the arena. Pokemon, Electrode. LV, 47. Type, Electric. Abilities, Soundproof. Gender, Genderless. Potential, Deep Silver. Alex, who saw the level and a special move on the Master rank even though the potential of Electrode is not on the S rank, was a bit surprised. He would really like to know how long Lieutenant Surge needs to train this Pokemon to level 46 and how exactly he trained the move Explosion to get it to the Master rank. 3, 2, 1, go! Lieutenant Surge calmly said C3 when Alex said nothing. Electrode immediately started preparing a move as it rolled towards Scizor. Scizor started to prepare his move first without any order from Alex because he already knew what to do, but he wasn't much faster than Electrode, who started just a little later. Well, that was to be expected from a person in the military. Alex thought when he saw Lieutenant Surge using code words to give his Pokemon faster commands without his opponent understanding them. Scizor finished a bit faster and he used the move Sword Dance like Alex had told him to do before the fight. Electrode, who was now only 5 meters away from Scizor, also finished and used the move Rollout against Scizor, who could not avoid it. Lieutenant Surge looked coldly in the direction of Alex when he said, "Do you think that the same trick will work here?" Alex heard the words but don't waste time answering him. He wasn't going to fall for a trick he'd used on Misty himself. He said quickly, "Scizor, we're changing the plan." Scizor, who heard this, had already prepared a move and he had to cancel it in order to be able to use the serious move from the other plan. Alex knew it wasn't optimal, but he couldn't wait any longer. Alex didn't have only one plan, and this replacement plan was started with these exact words by Alex, which Scizor understood immediately. Electrode finished the rollout for the second time and it also hit Scizor this time. Alex knew, of course, how the move Rollout works in this world and the dangers of this move. Although Rollout did not do the same abnormal damage as in the games and had a few restrictions, this move was still very strong in this world and even better than in the games. Fortunately, Alex knows that this move has to hit a Pokemon or creature or this move will be cancelled, so that he stayed calm when he saw it. Scizor finished his move and a stream of sand began to spread around the arena. Chapter 281. After Scizor had trained the move, Sandstorm, to the expert rank, the move was not only bigger or quicker to prepare, but a few other things also changed. The duration of the move was now longer and Scizor could more easily influence the Sandstorm. Now Scizor can make his Sandstorm so that it is difficult for Pokemon to see where Scizor is without using another move to make this possible. Scizor and Electrode, which were still very close to each other, were enveloped by a dense stream of sand so that both trainers can no longer see the Pokemon. Alex, who didn't say an order, knew that Scizor would do exactly the same thing in the Sandstorm as in his fight in the tournament where he had used the same tactics. He would use Roost when he noticed that he was suffering minor damage and otherwise use his buff moves. Also using Sandstrom when he noticed that his Sandstrom move was almost over. Lieutenant Surge gave a calm expression as he said, "Electrode, don't let Sizer run away from you while you're preparing your next rollout." But even in such a dense sandstream, it is not impossible to see Sizer when you are very close, and because Electrode is already very close he can still see Sizer. Alex was surprised by the quick and perfect response from Lieutenant Surge. He immediately started thinking about a tactic that would defuse this situation, or the rollout would defeat Sizer. Rollout, on the expert rank move, not only has the typical advantages of an expert rank move such as damage or preparation time, but also because it makes it easier to hit with the move. So with even the last 3 of 5 rollout moves, Electrode had a good chance to hit Sizer with it. Even if the damage from the move is not as big in this world as in the games, that's enough to defeat Sizer directly with 3 or even 2 hits. Alex responds in less than 1 second when he said, "Sizer, use all your weight and strength and let Electrode fly like a ball." Lieutenant Surge, who heard this, showed a very surprised expression and at first didn't understand the reason, but after a second he showed a serious expression. Normally, Pokemon don't use attacks that aren't moves in combat because they are much weaker and don't do much damage. Pokemon's bodies are very good and hardly take any harm from any of these attacks. This has a lot to do with the energy used in every move that really hurts a Pokemon. Even weak moves like Tackle use normal type energy, which does the real damage from that move. Alex, who gave Sizer such an order, did not want to cause any damage, but rather to sling the Electrode far enough away from Sizer so that he could no longer see him in the sandstorm. And because Alex didn't use a move to do that, Sizer could attack immediately and Lieutenant Surge didn't have time to react. Sizer responds immediately and uses both of his arms and all of the weight of his body to fling Electrode away like a yoga ball. Electrode, who was only 1 meter away from Sizer and had almost finished his next rollout, had no time to evade and was sent several meters to fly. Thanks to its weight, the Electrode does not fly any further, but its unstable body shape makes it impossible not to fly several meters away. Lieutenant Surge showed a look of shock when he saw Alex taking advantage of the ball-like body shape of the Electrode to destroy his tactics directly without giving him a chance at a counter. Electrode showed an annoyed expression as he rolled several meters and when he realized that the move, rollout, was finished. If rollout is not used almost immediately when it is done, the whole move will be interrupted, and because Electrode can no longer see Sizer, he knew that it would be impossible to maintain the condition. Lieutenant Surge made a serious expression when he said, "Electrode, use Swift." Alex, who had expected something like that, showed a smile. The Lieutenant Surge didn't know that Sizer had the move Roast on the expert rank was a huge advantage in this case. Sizer, who is in the Sandstrom, started to use Sword Dance again even without Alex's orders. Shortly before Electrode finished his move, Lieutenant Surge said, "Electrode, after using Swift, follow the attack that will lead you to Sizer and use E1 when you are in range." Electrode was using Swift and then followed a relatively slow move with his quick pace as he prepared E1. That's really impressive that he used Swift like that. With his long fighting experience, he probably knows a lot of such tricks, thought Alex when he heard the words from Lieutenant Surge. Alex was really impressed with Lieutenant Surge's tactics and skill. He felt that he was probably the strongest trainer he had fought against in terms of tactics. Sizer barely had time to react before Swift began to fly faster and faster in his direction while Electrode followed this move. Alex had a bad feeling about what E1 means, and the main reason for this feeling is that Lieutenant Surge was using a code word for this move and that this move must at least be on the expert rank or Electrode could not prepare this move while running. Electrode only had 2 other plus expert rank moves that have not yet received a code word: Explosion and Thunderbolt, but only because of the E in E1, he didn't think that it was necessarily the move, Explosion, because of it. Alex didn't feel that he had more time to think about it or that it would help to make a decision. He said loudly, "Sizer, use Protect." Due to the sandstorm, Alex cannot see which energy Electrode is absorbing, and his psychic powers can only feel the life energy of Electrode, so that he has no idea which move Electrode is preparing. Lieutenant Surge, who showed a serious expression the whole fight, suddenly had a little smile on his face. Electrode, that came before Sizer, finished his move and he used Thunderbolt that he had already prepared. Alex showed a slightly annoyed expression when he didn't hear an explosion but an electrical discharge. Lieutenant Surge said, E1. Alex said at the same time, Sizer, use X Scissor and let this golf ball fly again. Although Electrode can find Sizer again with the help of Swift, he has to use a normal rank move, so Alex likes to force Electrode to use that move again. Sizer and Electrode started almost simultaneously. Electrode started a little earlier. Electrode finished first in the end and hit Sizer with Thunderbolt, which did Sizer good damage. He loses more than 20% from that one hit. Together with the first two hits from Electrode, Sizer only had a little more than half of his HP left. Sizer showed no expression when he took the pain of the hit, and he used X Scissor with a cold expression. Together with two sword dances, this one hit made incredible damage to Electrode. Electrode not only flew more than 10 meters but loses more than 60% of its HP. Lieutenant Surge looked serious when he heard the painful scream from Electrode. Electrode, use Swift. Alex said at the same time. Sizer, use Roost. Sizer finished first and used Roost to heal himself. Alex said out loud, Sizer, use X Scissor and wait for Electrode to come to you. When Sizer started preparing the move X Scissor, Electrode finished the move Swift and used it almost immediately. Lieutenant Surge said, T1, with a serious expression. Alex knew exactly which move was left from Electrode, where Electrode can move at the same time, and had a new code word. But none of his moves are fast enough to be finished quickly as a master rank move, and Sizer is not nearly as fast as Electrode, so running away does not help. Only X Scissors that have already started to be prepared can be used. Alex says loudly, Sizer, use X Scissor directly. Sizer looked in a direction where he heard the sound of the Swift move, and he got ready to hit Electrode as early as possible. Swift hit him and did a bit of damage, but Sizer ignored it and just tried to use X Scissor as soon as possible on the Electrode that was only 2 meters from him. But Electrode finished his move and he used his deadliest move right away. A loud explosion could be heard by everyone outside the arena, and the sandstorm was completely interrupted by the air pressure of the explosion. Sizer, who had to endure a master rank explosion from very close range, lay consciously on the floor with a lot of injuries. Electrode using this move didn't look much better and actually had more injuries. Chapter 282, Alex quickly went to Sizer and started healing him with a super potion. Lieutenant Surge also went before his Pokemon with a serious expression and started to heal it with a super potion. After Alex stopped Sizer's bleeding and most of the injuries began to heal, he put Sizer back to his Pokeball. He looked in the direction of Lieutenant Surge when he said, the difference to Erica is really big. Lieutenant Surge heard Alex's words and said with a small smile, even if you praise me, I can't agree with you. He looked at Alex seriously as he said, I saw your fight with the little girl and I think you have no idea of the strength of the little girl. I've been training this Electrode for 5 years, and that's why it's so much stronger than the Pokemon that the little girl has for an A-rank badge, but that doesn't mean that she is weak. Alex understood what Lieutenant Surge said. When it comes to A-rank badges, Erica is much weaker than Lieutenant Surge because she didn't have that much time to train her Pokemon for this level group. But if she uses her strongest Pokemon, Erica shouldn't be much weaker than Lieutenant Surge. Lieutenant Surge's Pokemon for this level group, 40 to 49, had even more time in terms of training time than his Pokemon. Alex said in a joking tone, I was expecting your A-rank badge to be harder to get than Erica's badge, but I didn't think it was such a ridiculous increase in difficulty. Lieutenant Surge looked at Alex and said in a joking tone, Are you going to give up, kid? Alex smiled as he looked coldly at Lieutenant Surge. No. I hope you don't disappoint me, old man. Lieutenant Surge, who saw Alex's gaze, showed a big smile and started to laugh a little. You make me a little excited. It's been a long time since I got such a good fight at this level. When the camera recorded this exchange between Alex and Lieutenant Surge, the audience numbers started getting bigger and bigger. Such a thrilling and impressive fight has not been seen in gym leaders fight for a long time, so that many spectators tuned in when they heard that this fight was about to take place. The respective TV station even gets commentators for this fight in order to increase the number. Alex and Lieutenant Surge got ready to call their next Pokemon as they both waited for the referee's signal. Umbreon and Magneton appeared in the arena at the same time. A level 45 and a level 47 Pokemon. Although his last Pokemon doesn't have to be level 49, that is very unlikely, thought Alex. Alex didn't believe the Lieutenant Surge is a trainer who does not use all his strength against a strong opponent. 3, 2, 1, go. Lieutenant Surge said, M1, quickly. Umbreon started to prepare her move first and Magneton started to prepare his move shortly thereafter. Alex didn't use any direct commands at the beginning, and that's why his Pokemon started preparing his move a little earlier. Although it limited his flexibility a lot, Alex felt that in most cases it was worth it. Although Umbreon started preparing her move earlier, Magneton finished first. Magneton used Flash Cannon and hit Umbreon with it, who was only 30 meters away. Umbreon's body was hit and she lost almost 20% of her HP from that one hit. Alex looked serious when he saw the injury on Umbreon. Magneton's attack power cannot be underestimated, especially if it is using a Master Rank move. Even with the 2-level advantage of Umbreon and the very good SP def value of Umbreon, the damage was not small. Lieutenant Surge said again when he saw the damage. Umbreon ignores the pain and uses Work Up. Then she immediately started preparing a new move. She strictly adheres to Alex's plan that she was given before the fight. When Magneton didn't move, Umbreon started running in his direction as she prepared her move. Although Magneton is usually a bit faster than the Umbreon, Umbreon is 2 levels higher, which makes the Umbreon a bit faster than Magneton in this case. Magneton finished first and used Flash Cannon again, which this time did even more damage than the last time. Alex looked serious when he saw Umbreon lose almost 25% of his HP this time. Does Flash Cannon's chance of lowering Umbreon's SP def increase when it's on the Master Rank, or am I just unlucky? Although the increase in damage was not very large, it is a dangerous game if you allow the Magneton to lower the SP def of Umbreon even more. Alex stays calm when he said, Old man, you're unlucky that I didn't expect a long fight. Umbreon use Double Kick. Lieutenant Surge saw the Umbreon was 8 meters from Magneton and he quickly said Magneton use Protect. Alex hearing the words of Lieutenant Surge and he showed a smile. He waited until Umbreon got the perfect distance from Magneton so the Lieutenant Surge can give his order in time, but doesn't have enough time to think about it. Umbreon can do the Double Kick move, but that move is not on the expert rank. She saw Magneton set up a protective shield and she started using Work Up after seeing Magneton waste this important move. Lieutenant Surge saw how he wasted Protect, but he showed a calm expression. Umbreon use Payback. M1 and keep your distance from Umbreon. Lieutenant Surge heard Alex want to use a dangerous move again, but this time he wasn't ready to change his strategy because of it. If he tells Magneton not to use Flash Cannon immediately when it's done to counter Payback, and in the end waste time because Umbreon uses another move, we might fall for another trick. If Umbreon ended up using another move first and then immediately using Protect to block Magneton's attack, the fight would turn into an extremely disadvantageous situation. That's why Lieutenant Surge ignores Alex's words and tries to be on the safe side. Magneton tried to run away from Umbreon but wasn't faster and couldn't shake Umbreon off. Although Magneton couldn't build up a distance, he finished first and he used Flash Cannon again to avoid Umbreon. Umbreon's body had more large wounds and was bleeding from several places. But despite the pain, Umbreon looked indifferent. Lieutenant Surge said with a serious expression, M2. When Magneton started preparing his new move, Umbreon finished her move, Payback. Umbreon's paws were enveloped in dark energy, and when Magneton was hit by that energy, Magneton was struck to the ground by the pure force. Magneton's body had a very large dent and was in terrible condition. A critical hit. Alex, who noticed that Magneton was almost defeated, quickly said, Umbreon, use quick attack. Umbreon responded before Magneton or Lieutenant Surge had a chance to respond and hit Magneton with quick attack. Magneton with less than 5% HP fell to the ground unconscious. Chapter 283, Alex looked happy. The critical hit made this fight shorter and allowed Umbreon to take a little less damage. But, Alex still thinks that Umbreon would have won this fight in the end even without a crit. Umbreon, who won this fight, suddenly felt that her whole body had become a bit lighter. Alex also noticed the expression Umbreon and he looked at the info from Umbreon. Pokemon, Umbreon. LV, 48. Type, Dark. Ability, Synchronize. Gender, Female. Umbreon has gone up a level after this victory is really good timing, thought Alex as he looked at the level of Umbreon. When the next fight started, Alex went to Umbreon and told her which moves she should prepare immediately after the fight started. Lieutenant Surge went to his Pokemon and started healing it. Although this fight ended in an unfortunate result for him, he had not expected a victory against Umbreon from the start. He knew that the level advantage would be a major disadvantage and that his main goal is to do as much damage to Umbreon as possible and prevent it from reinforcing itself too often. The referee called both trainers to get ready and asked Lieutenant Surge called his next Pokemon. Pokemon, Pikachu. LV, 49. Type, Electric. Abilities, Lightning Rod, Hidden Ability. Gender, Male. Potential, Gold. Alex, who saw the next Pokemon, felt a relief that it is no Raichu, but when he saw the moves and the move mastery of this Pikachu, he showed a serious expression. He was sure that this Pokemon from Lieutenant Surge is very valued by him and will probably be added to his main team after a few years. 3, 2, 1, go. Lieutenant Surge gave a small smile when he said, E1. Umbreon started preparing her move earlier than Pikachu, who started a little later. Although Pikachu started a little later, it finished first. Pikachu began to discharge electricity from his body and turn it into a lightning bolt that flies rapidly in the direction of Umbreon. Umbreon was hit and made a painful expression. It looked to Alex as if this move was too much for her and he showed a slightly worried expression. Umbreon felt her head lighten, but by using the move that she had prepared, she catches up. She began to go to sleep and her injury began to visibly heal. Lieutenant Surge looked at the sleeping Umbreon and said with a smile, Pikachu, it's time for our special move. Pikachu also started to prepare for this special move, even if he didn't move. Alex saw this and his first thought is he's combining a move with the Thunderbolt on the master rank. Umbreon started to prepare, sleep talk, and Alex couldn't influence this situation. Besides that, he doesn't necessarily have a plan to move to a counter that he doesn't know or understand. Umbreon finished first and used Rest, that had no effect. Alex suddenly felt that Umbreon can only use expert rank moves when Sleep Talk is on the expert rank, sometimes even a disadvantage. Although this is usually an advantage, it can backfire if you are unlucky. Pikachu suddenly began to move and after each step, his body began to surround itself more and more with electricity. Pikachu was also getting faster and faster as he ran in a straight line towards Umbreon with a ridiculous speed. Umbreon, who couldn't move, was hit directly and thrown more than 15 meters away as Pikachu tackled Umbreon with his extended speed. Alex, who saw this, had the feeling that this move was a combo of Thunderbolt and Quick Attack. Umbreon's body had multiple injuries and Alex would estimate that she had lost more than 50% HP from that one hit. Fortunately, Quick Attack, like Protect, cannot be used more than once in a short fight so that he no longer has to worry about such a ridiculous move. But when Alex saw this ridiculous harm from Pikachu, he thought about a combo that is very similar and that one of his Pokemon can probably use. Overheat, plus Quick Attack, plus Speed Boost. As Alex thought about this possibility, he felt like he should thank Lieutenant Surge after this fight, no matter how it turns out. Lieutenant Surge showed a satisfied smile and he said, E1. Umbreon, who was almost done with her next move, suddenly woke up and the move, Double Edge, was ready for her to use. She didn't wait for Alex but looked at Pikachu, who was only 15 meters away, and ran towards Pikachu with a cold-blooded expression. The normal-type energy enveloped her whole body, and for a moment she ran towards Pikachu with a high-caliber feeling. Pikachu finished after Umbreon was only 5 meters away and immediately used Thunderbolt to avoid Umbreon. Umbreon ignored the pain and rammed Pikachu with all her strength. Pikachu flew several meters and suffered several serious injuries. He lost more than 40% of HP from that one hit. Umbreon also suffered damage, and together with the Thunderbolt from Pikachu, it doesn't have much HP left. Another hit from Thunderbolt, and she felt that she passed out. Lieutenant Surge said coldly, E1. Alex, who had no move, who is done just as quickly as a Master Rank move, and the Protect only delayed the inevitable, knew that it was over. Umbreon use Rest and try to evade Thunderbolt. Alex didn't want to give up if there was a small chance. Unfortunately, Umbreon couldn't evade Thunderbolt and fell unconscious to the ground. Chapter 284, Alex goes to Umbreon and he started healing her as he thought about his next strategy. Although Pikachu is already injured and had less than 60% of his HP, Alex didn't think he had already won. His last Pokemon is only at level 46 and a 3-level disadvantage is not small. He called Umbreon back to her Pokeball and called his next Pokemon. Blaziken, who had followed the whole fight in the Pokeball, showed an excited expression when she appeared in the arena. He went to Blaziken and whispered which moves she should use as soon as the referee gave the signal to start. Alex had also thought about calling Ditto, but unfortunately, Ditto wasn't strong enough as long as he hadn't trained the move, Transform, on the Master Rank. 3, 2, 1, go! Lieutenant Surge said quickly, E1. Blaziken started preparing her move earlier than Pikachu, who had to wait for the order. Lieutenant Surge noticed that too, but it didn't bother him. Umbreon started a bit earlier too, but in the end, Pikachu finished first his prepared move. He helped it very unlikely that Blaziken, who had a lower level than Scizor and Umbreon, had a Master Rank move if those two Pokemon didn't have one. Alex saw how everything went according to plan and showed a small smile. Blaziken finished first when she immediately used Attract after the move was done. Pikachu, who was about to finish his move, suddenly felt an indescribable feeling as he looked in the direction of Blaziken. He suddenly felt that he couldn't attack such a beautiful Pokemon. Pikachu broke off the preparation of his move and looked at Blaziken with a paralyzed expression. Lieutenant Surge said aloud, "Fuck, this Blaziken has Attract at the Master Rank. Pikachu, wake up, wake." Alex smiled when he saw how Attract had worked. While it is harder to hit a Pokemon that is of a higher level than Blaziken, it is not unlikely when one considers that Attract is on the Master Rank. Blaziken didn't waste any time and started preparing her next move when Pikachu watched her with a silly smile. Lieutenant Surge tried to wake up Pikachu with his loud scream, but it didn't work. Blaziken was finished with her move and the whole arena got warmer when she was using Sunny Day. Alex did a few tests with the move, Attract, and noticed that a Pokemon has a higher probability of waking up when it is in pain, so that he knows which moves he should use in such a situation. Unfortunately, he also found out that loud noises also influence the move, Attract, and now that Lieutenant Surge shouting like that, he didn't think Pikachu was stunned for long. Especially if he takes into account his level advantage over Blaziken. Blaziken started preparing a move again when Pikachu stopped paralyzed looking at Blaziken. Blaziken also started running in the direction of Pikachu as she prepares her new move. Lieutenant Surge said with an annoyed expression, E1. Pikachu started preparing his next move with a slightly embarrassed expression on his face. Blaziken finished her move first and hit Pikachu with Flamethrower, who is only 10 meters away. Pikachu suffered multiple burn injuries and loses a little more than 20% of his HP. Alex smiled when he said Blaziken use Protect. Pikachu used Thunderbolt and destroyed Blaziken's protective shield almost immediately. Although Blaziken can't block the whole hit, she prevented most of the damage and only lost 10% of HP. Lieutenant Surge said quickly, R1. Alex, who heard this, reacts quickly. Blaziken use overheat. He didn't know the meaning of the code word, R1, but that didn't matter to him in this situation. Alex knew that Pikachu only had one move on the Master rank and it would be impossible for him to be faster than Blaziken, who is preparing a Master move, even if she started a little later as him. As long as Pikachu can't use Protect to protect himself from this attack, the fight is over. Lieutenant Surge showed a calm expression, but his thoughts were in a disorder. Is that a second Master rank move? No, that has to be a trick. That shouldn't be possible to trainer 2 Master rank moves so quickly if he gets these Pokemon from the rookie tournament. This kid is really smart. I almost fell for his trick again. Blaziken, who was only 10 meters away from Pikachu, finished her move and used it immediately with an excited expression. Overheat sent Pikachu unconscious to the ground and ended the battle with Alex's victory. I really had a lot of fun writing this fight, which was a whole 4-chapter long. It's a very well thought out fight and also a very close fight with a narrow victory for Alex. Personally, it's one of my favorite fights, although I like the fight against Misty a bit more. You can also tell me which fight or fights you like the most. It would be interesting to hear that. Chapter 285. After Lieutenant Surge had healed his Pikachu and called it back to his Pokeball, he started walking towards Alex. He took out a small box with an A-rank Thunder badge and gave it to Alex with a smile. Lieutenant Surge said with a small smile, "Take it, kid. You deserve it." Alex, who could learn a lot from this fight and even got new ideas on how to combine his Master rank moves, had great respect for Lieutenant Surge. He smiled as he said, "Thank you very much. I really learned a lot fighting you." Lieutenant Surge started laughing. "Haha, you bastard, you are really good at lying and you even show such a believable expression. You are really good at it. No wonder that you used so many tricks in the fight." Alex gave a slightly speechless expression. That wasn't a lie. Besides, I'm not the only one who used tricks, or am I, old man? Lieutenant Surge stopped laughing and patted Alex's shoulder as he seriously said, "Kid, that was a joke." Alex looked at the face of Lieutenant Surge and for a moment didn't know what to say. He didn't expect the Lieutenant Surge, who always looked so serious, would make a joke in such a situation. Lieutenant Surge gave a small smile when he said, "But the fight was really good. I haven't had such a great fight at this level in a long time." Then he suddenly showed a serious expression, "But you're a bit weird." Alex looked at Lieutenant Surge with an expression like, "And you're not?" Lieutenant Surge smiled when he said, "No, you get me wrong. I mean the positive. In our fight, I learned several things from you and that's not something that happens often. You are really a weird monster that will be really strong in the future." He said the last sentence in a dry tone and with a serious expression. Alex said with a calm and relaxed expression, "Old man, I don't like it when people praise me and I don't know why they're doing that. Let us put the cards on the table." Lieutenant Surge laughed and said, "Haha, kid, you think too much. I like your character and have great expectations for your future, so I'll just say my honest words." Alex just smiled and said nothing further on the subject. He and Lieutenant Surge keep talking about Pokemon training and other subjects for a long time. Both exchanged their contact details and Alex felt the Lieutenant Surge is an interesting person even if he is not quite sure about the motives of Lieutenant Surge. There are many possible reasons and Alex cannot say for sure which is the truth. It may be that he really likes Alex's character and wants to build a good relationship. But it could just as well be that he sees Alex as a possible threat to Team Rocket and he wants to watch him. There are many possibilities and even several possibilities at the same time that can be correct so that Alex is not sure how he should treat Lieutenant Surge. Alex didn't really believe that Lieutenant Surge saw him as a threat to Team Rocket, especially because it wasn't necessarily true. Team Rocket or the Alliance. For Alex, his personal benefit is most important and neither of these two organizations has his full support. Although Team Rocket is an underground organization, Alex thinks about Team Rocket differently than most underground organizations. Team Rocket just wants to take control of the government and not do something crazy that endangers the whole Pokemon world. Apart from the fact that the leader of other organizations does not have a similar stable mental state as Giovanni. Alex's optimal situation is when he has a partner-like relationship with Team Rocket and the Alliance and can mostly show a neutral stance. But that requires a ridiculous strength in terms of own and personal strength. Although Alex hadn't made a firm plan yet and hadn't really made up his mind yet. Alex has a better relationship with Team Rocket so that he is not sure whether he can really make a step backward without provoking Giovanni. 3 hours later in Alex and Maria's private training room. Alex's Pokemon are training as usual when Alex suddenly noticed Shuppet starting to glow. He quickly runs to Shuppet when he simultaneously fetches an item from his TRH device. Remains, ashes, of a champion Jengar with SS rank talent. That was the most expensive item that Alex had ever bought and at a price similar to the Born S Lapras that Misty had bought in the auction. Shuppet absorbed the remains, similar to Ditto, and his body began to glow more strongly. After a few seconds, Shuppet's body started to change and the glow became so strong that Alex could no longer look directly at Shuppet. After a moment the glow faded and a Banette became visible in front of Alex. Pokemon, Banette. LV, 38. Type, Ghost. Abilities, Curse Body, Hidden Ability. Gender, Male. Potential, Shallow Diamond. Alex, who saw the info from Banette, had mixed feelings. He had a small hope that Banette would directly reach the diamond potential, but he had already expected that it would not be so easy to achieve. In terms of which moves remained as perfect talent moves, that's what got Alex thinking. He wasn't sure which of these moves are objectively the best because the fights in this world cannot be compared one-to-one to the fights in the games of his old world. Alex can imagine that a master rank, Curse, is a really strong move. Especially because he had read a lot of stories about Banette who often have a talent with Curse. He even read in a book that some moves for certain Pokemon species are easier to master than others with the same talent. In the book, only fewer Pokemon were tested so that he cannot be 100% sure whether it is true, but he also had no access to more knowledge about such research. It can also be completely lying, but to Alex, it sounded too reasonable to be a lie. There have been a lot of rumors from ordinary people in the Pokemon world that is very similar to the Pokédex entry Alex remembers. Banette generates energy for laying strong curses by sticking pins into its own body. Banette was originally a pitiful plush doll that was thrown away. Banette's energy would escape if it were to ever open its mouth. Alex knew that these rumors are nonsense, but the many stories that have been created from these rumors had one big thing in common for several generations that is not unimportant. Banette can use strong curses. These many stories of normal people in the world have shown since several generations is for Alex an indication that the Banette species probably really had a talent with the move, Curse. In addition, because there are a lot of Pokemon that can use the move, Curse, and that only a few Pokemon have a similar reputation with the move as Banette, is an indication for Alex that these stories contain a bit of truth. If you don't know, in all generations, Curse acts differently depending on whether the user has the ghost type or not. Chapter 286. As Alex was thinking about these various things, Banette started testing his new body. Banette, who now had 2 arms, felt a bit strange to have 2 extra limbs, but after a little testing, he felt that it was very easy to control them and it felt very natural. Alex's other Pokemon started going to Banette to congratulate him. Banette, who looked a lot scary now, only showed a smile and started to hug all Pokemon once with his new arms. Now that he had arms, he could hug the people/Pokemon that are important to him without any help. Alex looked at Banette's face that showed a terrifying smile as he hugged all of the Pokemon and felt that Banette really had an extremely friendly personality, even though he was together with Crobat and Scizor among Alex's top 3 terrifying Pokemon. Banette flew to Alex and gave him a hug after he hugged all the other Pokemon. Alex showed a gentle smile as he said, "It seems that you can now hug us without any help. Apart from that, you are now a good deal stronger." Banette looked at Alex with a happy expression as if he completely agreed with Alex. Vulpix started running in the direction of Alex too, but in contrast to all other Pokemon, she had a pout on her face instead of a smile. "Father, why is Brother Shu Banette allowed to evolve but not me? It's so unfair." Alex started to smile slightly as he said, "Oh, why do you want to evolve now?" Vulpix was puzzled by Alex's question for a moment, but after a few seconds she honestly said, "Because Brother Bennett has reached his final form and I don't want to lose to him." Alex felt as if he now understood why Vulpix is a bit unhappy. "I don't want to lose to him? Or maybe did you mean that you don't want to lose your best friend?" Vulpix showed a slightly shy expression when she heard Alex's words. "Father, don't make fun of me." Alex knew that Vulpix is a very proud Pokemon and wouldn't openly share his feelings like Bennett does, but now that he saw this expression from Vulpix he understood that Vulpix was really worried. "Don't worry, although with some Pokemon the personality changes slightly after it evolves, it doesn't change dramatically. I mean, look at Crobat, who already had the same personality when he was a Zubat." Crobat with his good hearing heard Alex's words and looked proudly as if Alex had praised him. Alex showed a smile. "Don't worry, your friend is still your friend." Vulpix showed a slightly happy expression and Alex thought, for a Pokemon that has almost reached the elite level, she's really cute. Though Crobat also had a cute side when he was a Zubat if you forget how many trainers he'd already killed. "There's also a reason I'm waiting before I let you evolve." Vulpix showed a curious expression when she heard these words. "I talked to Professor Walder recently and we talked a bit about your Pokemon species. He knew a lot about your species because one of his colleagues from Alola often talked and exchanged knowledge with him." Alex smiled when he started the next sentence. "He told me that all Alola Vulpix at level 40 learning a special move. Although many Pokemon learn moves at similar levels, that's not always the case in this world," which was very confusing for Alex. Alex's theory is that it had to do with the many different games that all have different movesets levels. Although there are often similarities, the sequence is often different from Pokemon to Pokemon. The same was also the case with Scizor, who just didn't want to learn Sword Dance on his own and Alex had to buy a TM in the end. There are also some Pokemon species that don't follow these rules and all Pokemon from these species learn the same level moves at the same level or only deviate a bit. Alola Vulpix wasn't such a species, but there was a move that all Alola Vulpix learned from level 40 and no Alola Ninetales learned at the same level. This move that all Alola Vulpix species learned from level 40 is called Sheer Cold, and Alex, who knows this, wanted to make sure that Vulpix could learn this move. This knowledge is, of course, like almost all useful knowledge in the Pokemon world, hard to get and not cheap. Fortunately, Alex and Professor Walder had a relatively good relationship and he did not have to pay anything for this knowledge, even if such a small sum did not matter to him. Alex really wanted Vulpix to be able to learn this move, and even if he had learned from Professor Walder that Alola Ninetales continue to learn moves even after they evolve, it is not the best option for Alex. Especially because Vulpix won't take long to reach level 40. Alex explained all this knowledge to Vulpix and made sure that she left the conversation with a smile. Then Alex's Pokemon started going back to their training and Alex started meditating again. After meditating every day for several months, he was now hardly comparable to a normal person in matters of direct strength. He has mainly trained 2 skills and neglected his other skills for them. The first is telekinesis, which is one of his first skills learned. Although at the beginning he couldn't move an object that weighs more than 1 kilogram with his thoughts, that has now changed. After several months his energy consumption, range, speed, and maximum weight improve. Alex also had 2 types of weapons made to support his new ability. The first weapon is a set of thick needles that allow you to add poison into them and, like a syringe, to immediately eject this poison from the needle head as soon as Alex applies a little pressure to the end of the needles. Although Alex likes to call these weapons dense needles and they look so similar, they had more similarities to syringes than needles. The range is between 30 and 50 meters which, depending on the distance, affects energy consumption and speed. Alex's optimal range is 30 meters, where he still had very good speed after his tests and hardly used any energy to use this weapon. The second weapon is much more direct and also the first weapon that Alex had to think of when he thought of his ability. A bag full of small steel bullets that look similar to bullets used for guns, even if they are much denser. Alex tested these weapons and in the end, was very disappointed with the result. He couldn't move them with such a quick move that they were fatal or even caused an initial injury. Even if he was only 30 meters away, that was impossible. Alex still kept this weapon because the direct damage wasn't bad and was just much better than when he used his hands. It was less lethal than the poison, but Alex also wanted a non-fatal attack if he needed. Chapter 287. In contrast to the first skill, the second skill that Alex had trained is a skill with no possibility of causing damage. Alex called this skill Energy Shield, and is, in Alex's opinion, his most important skill. Energy Shield only has a simple function, but this one function is extremely useful. Alex can use his psychic energy to create an energy shield and repel attacks of all kinds. The strength of shield depends on how much psychic energy Alex puts into his ability. In addition, the activation length, size of the shield, and preparation time, which can affect the energy consumption. A rank 3 psychic like Alex had a certain amount of how much psychic energy his body has and how effectively he can use this energy. Alex tried a lot of methods but failed to increase his maximum psychic energy. He even tried to absorb the energy from a dead psychic-type Pokemon, but that didn't affect his maximum psychic energy amount. Although Alex slowly restores his psychic energy when he sleeps or meditates, although meditation is more effective, he cannot exceed his maximum limit. When Alex realized that he couldn't exceed this limit with normal means, he began to think about a method to make his psychic energy more effective when it is used. If he has 100 psychic energy and he managed to improve the consumption of his skills so that he uses his psychic energy twice as effectively, then it is practically the same as having 200 psychic energy. It's even a little better because he can regenerate his psychic energy faster than when he has 200 psychic energy. In contrast to the limit with the maximum psychic energy that Alex can have in his body, he was able to improve the psychic energy consumption after he had used enough time to train his skills and as he tests ways to save energy when he used skills. Although the increase got smaller and smaller after several improvements, Alex was very happy with the progress. These several improvements allowed Alex to use his energy shield at an extremely useful level. Alex can, with a relatively small part of his psychic energy, create an invisible energy shield that can withstand all attacks from normal guns. Although maintaining the energy shield continued to consume psychic energy, that consumption was relatively bearable. In the Pokemon world, firearms are nearly as effective as Pokemon in terms of lethality. That's because a Pokemon at level 30 can easily kill a human with a weapon, and that the weapons themselves are not as effective against humans as they are in Alex's old world. The physical abilities of people, toughness, in this world are many times better than in Alex's old world, and the development of firearms is worse than in Alex's old world. It is still relatively practicable to kill a normal person with a weapon, but it is impossible with just a few shots of a weak firearm. Alex trained Energy Shield not only to protect himself against firearms but also to be able to block 1 or even 2 attacks from strong Pokemon. He tests how much his Energy Shield can withstand if he used a certain amount of his psychic energy for it. Alex was somewhat satisfied with the test, even though he noticed that the psychic energy consumption was ridiculously high when trying to block a move by an elite Pokemon. He had to use almost 50% of his psychic energy to block a normal rank, Aerial Ace, of Crobat. Alex also had to use approximately 90% of his psychic energy to block an expert rank move from Crobat. Fortunately, Alex did these tests in a very careful, or the many moves that fly in his direction can result in injuries if not for something worse. Alex was extremely happy with the performance of Energy Shield, even if the energy consumption was completely ridiculous. He planned to continue to train this ability and improve the energy efficiency in order to be able to block even stronger attacks. Alex searched for information on how to improve his psychic rank but found nothing useful. Alex had also asked Steven and looked for information he could exchange for money, but he found nothing useful. This would not only increase his maximum psychic energy limit but also massively increase his psychic energy efficiency. That was also the reason why a 2-rank psychic needs so long to learn extremely easy skills, even if its maximum psychic energy limit is not disproportionately worse than a 3-rank psychic. The combination of extremely poor psychic energy efficiency and extremely poor maximum psychic energy limit causes it. It was like multiplying two very small numbers. Alex knew that the difference between a rank 3 or rank 4 psychic is smaller, even if he did not know how much better a normal rank 4 psychic is to a rank 3 psychic. He knew that Sabrina, who is a rank 5 psychic, had now similar strengths to a late elite psychic type Pokemon and was improving every day. Alex didn't intend to match this monster. Especially because for him his psychic powers are not his main strength and only a useful bonus. Alex would be happy to find a way to become a rank 4 psychic, but that wasn't his main goal. He doesn't know if there is a way to improve his psychic potential, even if he suspects that a psychic item from a full-blood legendary Pokemon should make it possible to improve his potential. But he'd rather give his Pokemon this item when he gets it, than become a rank 4 psychic himself. He is already very satisfied that in a direct match against a human, he would almost always win. Alex thought, as long as I don't have to fight alone against Bruno, Koga, Sabrina, or similar strong, superhumans, I should be considered a powerful human. When he had this thought he couldn't help but laugh a little. Haha, what nonsense. I should rather compare myself to a rank 4 psychic than think about comparing myself to such monsters. Chapter 288. 10 days later, when Alex was training in his and Maria's private training room, Alex's TRH device started ringing. Alex looked at his cell phone-like device and saw Maria write to him that she would be back from her training in the wilderness in half an hour. The reason why Maria came back from her wilderness training earlier was that Giovanni started giving rewarding missions to the participants. To be precise, this morning Alex had a message from Lisa and several missions from which he or his subordinate could participate. Alex looked at the 20-plus missions and noticed a few peculiarities compared to normal missions that Team Rocket Mission Center has. The first peculiarity is that the reward for almost all missions is extremely generous and relatively disproportionate for the work done. Even if they look bad compared to each other, they are at least many times better than in the Team Rocket Mission Center. The second specialty that Alex noticed was that the value of this mission deviated extremely, and there were missions that are many times more worthwhile than others. Especially when he saw a certain mission and compared it with an average mission that was available for selection, he noticed how different the rewards are for the performance. Mission objective: find Liam Brond and collect information about his activities over the past 30 days. Especially the information about the Pokemon trade and mission duration. After accepting the task must be completed within 7 days or a fine must be given for not completing the task. In addition, giving insufficient information is considered failure. An amount of 50,000 TR points must be referred to the mission within 3 days. Not fulfilling that reward, 500,000 TR points which are transferred within 1 day. Mission objective: kill a main Pokemon from Gym Leader Brock without being discovered by him or anyone else. Corpse or other evidence. Mission duration: after accepting the task must be completed within 3 days or a fine must be given for not completing the task. Insufficient evidence. Failure, 1 million TR points. Reward, 1,500,000 TR points which are transferred within 1 day. Killing a main Pokemon from Gym Leader Brock is a ridiculously risky and difficult mission. Not necessarily because of Brock's strength but because of the consequences after attacking a gym leader. The reward for such a mission is ridiculously small and the penalty for failure is a joke. Alex had a suspicion why the mission value fluctuates so much, but that doesn't happen in the Team Rocket Mission Center. That was a test and even some kind of training for Alex and the other participants. For almost all completed missions Giovanni will make a loss because of the unreasonable rewards, but the point of this mission is not to make a profit for Giovanni or that these missions are fulfilled. Alex had the assumption that these missions fulfill several goals and these unreasonable rewards are only a means for Giovanni so that the participants do not ignore these missions. Many skills are tested and trained even if it is not directly visible at first glance. But Alex did not believe that only the selection and comprehension of mission are tested and trained. The mission itself should bring valuable experience to Alex, who has to manage everything, or to his subordinates who take part in this mission. Apart from the fact that Alex has the option to take part in missions himself if he finds some that he likes. The more Alex thought about what all this mission should aim at, the more he was impressed by Giovanni's planning. Especially that Giovanni apparently had planned everything from the start was impressive for Alex. Alex stopped meditating when he saw Maria and her Pokémon enter the training room. He looked at the info from Maria's Pokémon. Alex gave a weak smile as he saw the potential of Arbok that had improved from the last time he saw it. He also noticed that Arbok had absorbed his items faster than Bastiodon and that faster the shallow diamond had reached. Alex believed that maybe the number of items played a role at the time or that Arbok was already close to the shallow diamond potential, but he can't be quite sure what the reason was. The Gible-to-Gabite evolved and could improve his potential didn't surprise Alex because he had seen Maris's Pokémon info before she went into the wild and Gible was level 24 at that time. Alex thought with a serious expression but all the other Pokémon as Gabite and Arbok should soon start to reach a level where their potential will be a problem. Like Ditto. Maria looked at Alex, who was lost in thought, and said softly, "That's not how I imagined my greeting." Chapter 289, Alex, who woke up from the words of Maria, started to look in the direction of Maria with a smile. What exactly did you expect? Maybe something like that, after he said that he went to Maria and took her in his arms as he kissed her. Maria showed a smile after they both parted. Not bad, but it can be done better. Alex shows an expression of curiosity when he said, "How exactly?" Maria put her hand on her head and said, "Men." Then she looked at Alex and said, "You can prepare flowers, gifts or other things for me or even prepare a romantic meal." Alex said with an ironic tone, "Sure, why not? Should I also treat you like a goddess and kiss the floor you walk on?" Maria didn't get angry but said ironically, "Would it kill you to do this for me? The first thing or the one with kissing the floor?" Maria's eyes went cold and Alex noticed that she don't found his good joke funny. Alex gave a gentle smile as he went next to Maria's ear and he whispered a few words. Crobat, who had a good hearing, had a disturbed expression when he heard Alex's words. He thought inwardly, humans really have weird preferences. Maria's eyes got less cold but she still said in a cold tone, "Too little." Alex gave a slightly helpless expression when he said, "What do you want?" Maria smiled as she whispered Alex a few words in his ear. Alex got serious and wondered if he was ready to promise Maria these things. But when he remembers that after the two of them were officially together that he hadn't done any romantic things for Maria and he agreed with a slight nod. Maria beamed and her smile made Alex feel uncomfortable. She looked at Alex's expression and said, "Don't be such a... I've done that for you too." Alex knew it wasn't that unusual, but he never did anything for his old girlfriend so that this situation felt a bit weird to him. Maria took a piece of paper from her bag and gave it to Alex with the words, "Am I not good to you?" Alex took the piece of paper and saw the info from Maria, Elise, and Daniel's Pokémon. He already knew the information from Maria so that he only paid attention to the other two. Daniel. A-rank Beedrill at level 41. S-rank Butterfree at level 43. S-rank Beedrill at level 46. A-rank Scyther at level 35. Elise. S-rank Fearow at level 36. A-rank Gyarados at level 34. A-rank Xatu at level 27. Although this list doesn't exactly determine the potential, as if Alex sees these Pokémon himself, it was more than enough to find a suitable mission for his subordinate. Even the potential wasn't really necessary and the level would have been enough. Alex smiled as he said, "You really are a good vice. That should make it a lot easier." "But, are you sure?" Maria looked serious. "The level should be about right because I've seen every Pokémon personally. But, I'm not sure about the potential. That is the potential they give me. But because they both know that you have no interest in their S-rank Pokémon, I don't think it is likely that they are lying. Maybe only if they have a Pokémon that has an SS rank potential they would lie." Alex looked at the list again and saw how Maria had given Arbok the SS rank and showed a smile. Maria saw that too and said, "The items you gave me were really good." Then she said softly, "I still can't believe I have an SS rank Pokémon. It is like a dream." Alex had a soft expression when he said, "You should get used to it. You'll have two soon." Maria didn't say anything and looked passionately at Alex. Alex thought about the potential of Dano and said slightly, "Don't look at me like that. Believe me when I tell you that my present is worth many times less than yours." Then he said in a joking tone, "It almost feels like you're my sugar mama." Maria just smiled when she said so quietly that Alex can't hear it. "You may really feel that way after tonight." Alex saw Maria's smile and just thought it looked cute. Then he gave a sheet of paper to Maria with a playful smile. "This is the mission I have chosen for you. Of course, you have the right to refuse if you do not want it. Mission objective: train the 10 A rank Pokemon and use the items given by your boyfriend to bring them during their evolution to the S rank. Mission duration: take your time. Failure: has to compensate her boyfriend with her body. Reward: 50 million TR points." Maria's serious expression disappeared as she read the text. She looked at Alex and said, "Your jokes used to be better." Alex smiled when he said, "This is not a joke." Maria looked at Alex and said, "You know yourself that you can never count on when an A-rank Pokemon will become an S-rank Pokemon even if you use good items during their evolution. There are a lot of people who have tried something like that too, but it is a dangerous way to earn money because there is no sure way to get success with it. In such a gambling-like business, you want to give me 50 million Poke dollars? That's a joke." Then she looked at Alex gently and said, "You don't need to try to play me a trick like that to give me money. Even though I'm not as rich as you, I have a lot of money. I don't need your money." Alex just looked at Maria as he said seriously, "That's not a trick or a joke. Each of these A-rank Pokemon is Pokemon of a good species so that it can be sold for a very good price as soon as these Pokemon reach the S rank. Even if I deduct the money for items, the Pokemon themselves, and your payment, I'll earn almost as much as you earn." Maria looked at Alex and said seriously, "But you can't be sure that all 10 A-rank Pokemon will reach the S rank. It is already lucky if more than 3 reach the S rank after their evolution." Alex said, "Each of these 10 Pokemon had both parents with a born S-rank talent. The chance is extremely high that almost each of these 10 A-rank Pokemon can reach the S rank after their first evolution." Alex, of course, didn't know the potential of the parents of the 10 A-rank Pokemon and only knew that each of these Pokemon had a deep silver potential. Together with the fact that they are all on a relatively low level and have not yet experienced an evolution, Alex thinks that the chance is very good that all 10 A-rank Pokemon will reach the S rank after their first evolution. Most of the Pokemon species out of the 10 A rank are Pokemon species that are from the Pokemon that Alex bought to prepare for the rookie test. He took the chance and bought a lot of deep silver Pokemon when Team Rocket sold to him that many A-rank Pokemon. Alex kept almost all of the deep silver Pokemon and was just waiting for a chance to earn a fortune from it. He always had this idea, but it wasn't easy to find first stage deep silver Pokemon, especially those with a popular species. But when Team Rocket helped him to buy so many A-rank Pokemon, Alex knew it was the perfect chance. Chapter 290, Maria looked at Alex with a surprised expression. "Huh? Where did you get this info from?" Alex smiled as he continued his prepared story. "I have a connection who had many of these Pokemon and I trust him that he won't cheat me regarding the potential." Maria heard Alex say this and suddenly felt that Alex trusted her. She knew that such a contact is extremely valuable and that it can be very dangerous for Alex if people find out about it. Especially because Alex's strength is not enough to deter some greedy people from making more than 100 million Poke dollars. Team Rocket is a good shield for Alex, but with such a huge amount of money, it can quickly happen that you become the target of a few greedy people. Maria felt very happy but showed a sarcastic expression when she said, "Why, you really have other people you trust than me?" Alex rolled his eyes. "Hey, don't pretend I have no friends." This time it was Maria's turn to roll her eyes when she said, "You mean Steven? Wow, a whole friend in me. I am really impressed." And before Alex could say anything, Maria said with a smile, "And don't come to me with not humane friends." Alex, who wanted to say exactly that, showed an expression of surprise as Maria could guess his answer so easily. After a pause, he looked at Maria and said, "Why can't I say it?" Maria showed a smile of a winner when she said, I thought you saw them as your family? Or was that a lie? Then she looked playful at Alex, and toward his Pokemon who are looking at them both. It seems as if the conversation unfolds the interest of almost all Pokemon in this room as they look in the direction of the couple. Alex noticed the looks and realized that Maria had pushed him into a trap. But after a second he said with a smile, I see my Pokemon as my family but also as friends. Both things don't have to be mutually exclusive. Maria looked at Alex and just said quietly, bad loser. What are you talking about? I haven't lost. Maria looked at Alex and said, why do you suddenly become such a bad loser? Even after your first defeat to me, you were a lot cuter. Alex felt a bit uncomfortable when he heard the word cute to describe him. Are you mad at me? Maria started to smile slightly as she looked at Alex. No, I can't stand being mad at you for a long time. You're just too cute. Alex tried not to show on his face how much he bothered being called cute when he said, why do I hear the word cute more often than the word handsome when you describe me? Can't you even be nice to your boyfriend? Maria's smile grew bigger when she noticed how annoyed Alex was. Oh, you have more cute parts than you think. Alex's mood got a bit better as the situation became more and more ridiculous. He even slightly laughed at Maria's joke. He looked at Maria with an intense look when he said, I can tonight show you who of us will act cute. Maria blushed a bit when she understood the hint, but she quickly hid it. She looked at Alex and said seriously, not tonight. You promised me the other thing. Alex started to laugh when he realized how much Maria was looking forward to tonight. Maria and Alex trained together for a few more hours before Alex went alone to his room to select a mission for Elise and Daniel. He didn't want to delay any longer and he didn't want to give the same mission to both of them when he had given Maria. Elise or Daniel are not the people Alex really trusted, so he was not willing to give them the same mission as Maria. Alex can't allow the information that he had a contact person who has many A-rank Pokemon that have an extremely high probability of reaching S-rank after an evolution. This is comparable to a gold mine. Even if this information is a lie, it is a dangerous thing if this information reaches the wrong person. Alex only trusted Steven, Maria, and his Pokemon. He looked again at the info from Maria and Daniel Pokemon. Daniel. A-rank Beedrill at level 41. S-rank Butterfree at level 43. S-rank Beedrill at level 46. A-rank Scyther at level 35. Elise. S-rank Fiero at level 36. A-rank Gyarados at level 34. A-rank Xatu at level 27. Alex remembers Daniel's Pokemon level when he made him his subordinate and realized one thing. Why after almost 3 months is Daniel's Butterfree not on a similar level as Beedrill? What is Daniel doing? Both were on a similar level and now the gap is so big. Butterfree was only 1 level lower than Daniel's S-rank Beedrill, but after almost 3 months that changed. Alex knew that it couldn't be because of the potential. A shallow gold Pokemon only starts at level 45 and slows down to a level, so there should be no reason for it to happen. What most confused Alex was why the A-rank Beedrill levels faster than Butterfree after almost 3 months. Alex showed a serious expression when he thought, I hope it's another reason. He had a suspicion, but he hoped that Daniel had another reason why Butterfree levels so slowly. Chapter 291. Alex had the suspicion that Daniel treated his other 2 Pokemon preferentially, and that is the reason why Butterfree levels slowly. Though he hoped that wasn't the case. When a trainer gives certain Pokemon preferential treatment, it can cause many obstacles that are not easy to eliminate. Alex treats each of his Pokemon equally, even if he never says it directly. Even when he's a bit tougher on Crobat or Scyther, Alex never really treated them differently than the other Pokemon. Crobat, or a Pokemon that was just born, needs different treatments, and Alex personally doesn't have a Pokemon in his family that he likes more than the others. The character of each Pokemon is different and needs different approaches, but that doesn't mean that not all Pokemon can be treated equally well. Alex treats his Pokemon completely in the same way when it comes to item distribution and training. If Alex had enough money, he would buy so many items until all of his Pokemon got on the SS rank, but even with his great wealth it wasn't nearly sufficient to do that. He had to make decisions on which of his Pokemon would most effectively benefit from the items/money. Yet, he doesn't always buy items for his Pokemon according to this method. Ditto or even Crobat, Scizor, and Gardevoir all have a bad born potential that makes it not worthwhile to further improve their potential if one judges this thing objectively. But Alex ignored that and continued to buy items for the 4 Pokemon and even looked for ways to collect enough money to buy items for Crobat, Scizor, and Gardevoir that could bring their potential to the shallow diamond rank. He was just trying to find a middle ground and to get the Pokemon on the SS rank that need less investment, but he didn't stop collecting money for the other 4 Pokemon. Alex would even give Ditto an item from a full-blood Pokemon if he had it, even if it is more effective to give this item to other Pokemon. He picked up his TRH device and he sent a message to Daniel to call him. Daniel answered quickly and called Alex directly. Daniel's serious voice could be heard from the TRH device in Alex's hand. "Boss, what can I do for you?" Alex said in a relaxed voice, "I just got a list from the device with the level and potential of your Pokemon and I noticed something interesting." Daniel said nothing and patiently waited for Alex to continue. Alex's voice stayed relaxed as he said, "Your Butterfree has a potential of the S rank and shouldn't have a problem leveling as fast as your S rank Beedrill." His voice was starting to get a little more serious. "But he seems that that's not the case. Can you explain to me why that is the case?" Daniel said in an indifferent voice, "Sir, I understand your concern, but I think you misunderstood something." "Oh, I like that answer. It seems like my guess was wrong." "No, it's normal that you think I probably prefer my other 2 Pokemon because of my past, but I can promise you that it has nothing to do with it." Alex then said with a slightly curious voice, "Daniel, your answer calms my worries, but you make me curious about the reason why your Butterfree is leveling so slowly. Can you tell me the reason?" Daniel continued to say in his neutral tone, "Butterfree have given birth to several children." Alex didn't say anything for a few seconds. After a few seconds, he said in a serious tone, "It looks like I don't have to worry, but I would recommend that you don't allow your Pokemon to have lots of children right away. It's still time for it later. It is just a recommendation and you have to decide for yourself." Daniel said in a slightly softer voice, "I already thought about the consequence after I made this decision. But I already explained to my family that no more children can be made after the first time. At least for now." Alex knew that Pokemon interest in sex is not high or comparable to humans. Pokemon showed more interest in creating children than in the act itself. Alex even read how a professor in this world had developed a pill that would allow most Pokemon species not to get pregnant for a few days after taking it. Compared to the human beings who had several major changes in the world after the birth control pill, the same was not seen for the Pokemon in this world. Almost all Pokemon species had no interest in the act without creating children, so that this pill was in the end quasi-useless in the eyes of most Pokemon. Alex stopped thinking about these things and he said, "I have selected a few missions for you that have a rewarding reward and are feasible to fulfill with your strengths. I give you free choice and you can choose which missions you want to take on, or if you do even want to accept a mission." Daniel didn't show much interest, but after Alex gave detailed information about a couple of missions, Alex noticed that Daniel seemed interested. Alex had only selected the best missions from Giovanni for Daniel and Elise, so that each mission is extremely worthwhile. At least for normal elite trainers who do not have that many ways to earn money so quickly. Alex hadn't kept a mission for Maria because she was now training the 10A rank Pokemon together with her other Pokemon and had no time for other things. Apart from that, the reward from Alex's mission is many times better than even these ridiculously worthwhile missions from Giovanni. But it wasn't that Alex didn't want to do a mission himself. Alex has exactly 2 missions for himself that are very rewarding and perfectly matched for him personally. Chapter 292. Alex started looking at the 2 missions he had chosen for himself. Mission objective: find up to 100 A-rank Pokemon under level 20. The A-rank Pokemon must be all one of the 5 Pokemon species, Rattata, Spearow, Zubat, Koffing, Ekans, and must not surpass level 19. After accepting the mission, a smaller number of A-rank Pokemon cannot be accepted as a number than 10 Pokemon that meet the requirements or the failure condition is valid. The delivery of the mission objective must be in. Mission duration. After accepting the task must be completed within 30 days or a fine must be given for not completing the task. Pokemon that don't meet the mission objective. Failure. An amount of 10,000 TR points must be referred to the mission center within 3 days if the mission is not fulfilled within the deadline. Incorrect information about the level, talent, and species will. Reward. 1 million TR points for completing the mission objective. In addition, 150,000 TR points per A-rank Pokemon are added as a bonus and transferred within 1 day. Mission objective. Investigate the reason for the sudden appearance of several elite Pokemon in Vermilion Forest and the reason why it is happening. Resolving the problem will also be considered an optional mission and will have a separate reward. According to reports, there are several Icons/Arbok groups that have been seen often by victims who have trained in this forest. See the report attached. Mission duration. After accepting the task must be completed within 30 days or a fine must be given for not completing the task. The information has to be. Failure. An amount of 50,000 TR points must be transferred to the mission center within 3 days if the mission is not fulfilled within the deadline. Incorrect information about the reason. Reward. 1 million TR points which are transferred within 1 day. In addition, 2 million TR points will be given as a reward for completing the optional mission. Vermilion Forest. Alex chose these 2 missions because they have very rewarding rewards and can be completed at the same time if Alex does the right thing. A large group of Arboks on the elite rank is an indication that there shouldn't be a small number of A-rank Icons in that group. The chance to find many A-rank Icons in this group is not small. Especially with such a large number of elite Pokemon, the potential of children of this group, Icons, should not have a bad potential. Together with the fact that Alex can see the potential of all Pokemon at a glance, making this mission extremely easy for him. Even without the second mission, Alex should have no problem finding at least 10 A-rank Pokemon with these species and levels that are wanted. Although even Alex himself can't collect as large a number as 100 A-rank Pokemon in such a short time. If the mission requirements are only 100 A-rank of whatever species and Pokemon below the elite level, that would be something else, but exactly because of the difficult requirements of the mission, it is very difficult for Alex to collect so many Pokemon. Only looking for 5 specific Pokemon species that are below level 20 makes it very difficult for Alex to find them in the black market that has all possible species and levels of Pokemon. The only reason why he was able to buy so many A-rank Pokemon with the same species in the rookie test is because Team Rocket had helped him, and that was only possible with the help of Lisa and because he was an instructor for the rookie test, so that he knew that he could not buy as many A-rank Pokemon from Team Rocket again. Alex is even sure that selling such a large number of A-rank Pokemon has to be approved by Giovanni anyway, so that he doesn't even try to exploit this mission by trying to buy the 100 A-rank Pokemon from Team Rocket just to get them right away turned in to get the rewards from the mission. Maybe Giovanni left that extra as a loophole, and that's a test that rewards the discovery of something like that? Shouldn't be impossible. It's not a shame to try. Alex pulled out his TRH device and sent Lisa a message. 20 seconds later Alex got a call from Lisa, which he immediately answered. "Good afternoon, Executive Lisa." Lisa's playful voice could be heard from the other side. "Hello to you too. Why do you suddenly want to talk to me? Do you miss me?" Alex said in a slightly indifferent tone, "Of course, but I'm calling today because of some other business." "You are so cold you almost break my heart," Lisa said as her trademark tone didn't change. Alex rubbed his forehead lightly when he heard this playful tone from Lisa. He couldn't get used to the fact that Lisa had such a playful way and liked to do small talk. Alex prefers it when things are clarified directly and not unnecessarily prolonged. "Executive Lisa, how do you like the subordinates I've given you?" "Oh, really good. Especially Jasper is such a cute and talented young man. He has a lot of talents and..." Lisa said with a happy voice when she kept talking. Alex suddenly felt Lisa was starting to develop a harem when he heard her voice talking about Jasper. He wasn't entirely sure, but from her voice, it didn't sound like it was going to be a purely boss-subordinate relationship. Executive Lisa, now that you have received such good submissions from me, you shouldn't have a problem helping me with one thing, right? Lisa agreed, suddenly became less warm when she said it depends. First, tell me what you need help with. I need 100 A-rank Pokemon under level 20 that have the same species as last time. Lisa started to laugh slightly. But when Alex thought he was going to be rejected, she said slightly, yeah, I can help you. Alex looked surprised when he heard this direct approval. He hadn't thought that it would work so smoothly. What is the price and when can I expect these Pokemon to be ready to buy? Though surprised, he continued to speak in a calm tone. Lisa started to laugh slightly when she said, hee hee, you can pick up the 100 A-rank Pokemon tomorrow if you give me 150,001 TR points per Pokemon. Alex heard Lisa's laugh and his eyes started to get cold. He wasn't so stupid as to understand why the price is exactly 150,001 TR points. He said in a cold voice, if you don't want to help me, say that directly. I don't have time for your nonsense. Lisa stopped laughing and said, Alex darling, I can't do anything about that. I only implement the orders I got. What are you talking about? Lisa said with a slightly happy voice, our boss gave me the command to give you this exact price for the Pokemon as an answer when you asked me about A-rank Pokemon. Alex heard that it was an order from Giovanni and suddenly became speechless. Chapter 293, after a few more polite words, Alex ended the conversation with Lisa without further talking about these A-rank Pokemon. Alex could buy 10 A-rank Pokemon and make a profit of 999,990 TR points, but he didn't want to waste this mission for this small amount. He felt it makes a lot more sense to look for these A-rank Pokemon himself as to buy the overpriced A-rank Pokemon from Team Rocket. Alex looked for information from Vermilion Forest and checked how feasible and dangerous this mission would be for him and his Pokemon. If this area had too many unknown dangers like the Royal Forest, Alex would rather not accept this mission. After Alex bought the specific information from the Team Rocket shop for a small sum and after he read it he realized that this area is nothing special. If not more and more elite Pokemon suddenly appeared in this forest in the last month, this forest would not be a special place for Alex. Alex accepted the task on both missions and immediately started making his way to Vermilion City with his Pokemon. Unfortunately, Alex has to accept the mission within 1 week or it will not be possible to accept the missions later on. Alex understood why Giovanni had added this rule, even if he is a bit annoying that he cannot bypass the failure conditions of all missions. He can at most delay it a little bit. He filled in that Giovanni had thought of almost all loopholes and had built-in rules to prevent them. 2 hours later Alex and Gardevoir teleported to Vermilion City. Vermilion Forest is on the east of Vermilion City and Alex's knowledge of his old world was not useful in this area because in the games this forest was not accessible for the players even if they can see on the map that there is a forest there. Alex had to rely on the information and the map of Vermilion Forest that he had bought from Team Rocket shop. Although this map is not completely up to date anymore because the forest has changed a lot in the last month, it is not completely useless to find certain Pokemon species groups in this forest. Econ/Arbok species groups have always existed in this forest and only the number and strength have increased so that Alex can easily find these large groups with this map or at least where most of these Pokemon are in this forest. 30 minutes later Alex was in front of a large forest area with a rough footpath. That was one of the many entrances or exits to Vermilion Forest. Alex pulled out all of his Pokemon and let Dano go next to him while all the other Pokemon go ahead. Dano was only level 20 and although only weak Pokemon live on the edge of this forest, Alex didn't want to risk anything. Especially not after a lot of elite Pokemon suddenly appear in this forest. Alex's group quickly encountered the first Pokemon and Alex said that it could be an optimal first fight for Dano. Pokemon, Dano. LV, 20. Type, Dark/Dragon. Ability, Hustle. Gender, Male. Potential, Deep Gold. Pokemon, Venonat. LV, 23. Attributes, Bug/Poison. Abilities, Compound Eyes. Gender, Male. Venonat saw Alex's group of Pokemon and wanted to run away, but Alex and Crobat managed to persuade this Venonat to fight Dano. Alex didn't really guilty about forcing this Pokemon to fight Dano. He would heal it afterward anyway, and he felt that this Pokemon even got important combat experience without being afraid of taking permanent damage from it. It's almost a gift. He didn't think it was cruel. Alex didn't feel that he had changed his attitude towards strange Pokemon or humans. He's always been that kind of person, and he even felt that he had become a bit kind compared to the beginning. At least towards Pokemon. Alex stopped thinking about it and started giving Dano his first command. Dano use, Crunch. Venonat also started preparing a move after a moment of hesitation. Dano finished and bit Venonat with his teeth that were full of dark-type energy. Venonat screams painfully and uses Confusion against Dano with a slightly angry expression. Dano, who is a dark-type Pokemon, is immune and suffered no harm from this attack. Dano, again. Venonat showed a confused expression and suddenly understood why this attack did not work. He didn't know that Dano was a dark-type Pokemon and so, as always, used his strongest move without thinking about it. Alex, who saw such a thing for the first time, showed an interesting expression. He knew that the instinct of a Pokemon often gives important information about many different things, but he always thought that the Pokemon species is one of the information that the instinct of a Pokemon always gives. Alex would like to know how Pokemon learn about other Pokemon species because he doesn't think that knowledge comes from seeing. Maybe Pokemon talk to each other and exchange information? But doesn't explain it completely. Alex was thinking about it when Dano started using his next move. Venonat was bitten by Dano again and his body began to bleed heavily while 2 large bite marks were visible. Alex was particularly noticeable how Dano always showed a satisfied expression after he had finished a bite. He hoped that Dano is happy that he is fighting so well and not that he can now bite Pokemon with all his bite force. Alex looked at Venonat's injuries and he said in a calm voice, Dano use Draco Meteor. Venonat finished his normal rank move a little later and started using the move, Supersonic. Supersonic is a weird move that cannot be avoided but only works within a very small radius. Dano was hit and suddenly saw 2 Venonat. He showed a confused expression and started looking in the direction of Alex. Alex saw the strange expression and said with a calm expression, "You're trying to hit the right one of the 2. You should notice when you watch closely which one of them is fake." Supersonic is on the normal rank and it's not nearly as difficult to see through as the move on the expert rank. Dano observed the 2 Venonat and noticed how only one of the 2 moved naturally. He used Draco Meteor, and Dano created a very small meteor up in the air, similar in size to himself, which immediately fell on Venonat at a fast speed. Venonat was hit and fell unconscious to the ground. Chapter 294, Alex went to the unconscious Venonat and healed him with an potion after the fast fight was over. After healing Venonat's injuries, he went to Dano with a happy expression. Alex smiled slightly when he said "You were great" and patted Dano's head. Dano showed a happy expression and let Alex stroke him without biting him, as he often did after he was born. He learned that his father doesn't like being bitten and stopped biting Alex after being reminded several times by his father. Alex waited until Venonat woke up and only then went deeper into the forest. After a few minutes, Alex's group heard from Crobat that in front of them there was a human with several Pokemon. Alex sometimes found trainers in the wilderness, but mostly he ignores them or even sometimes took a detour. As long as these trainers are not in a direct way, he usually did not take a detour to meet these trainers. He knew from experience that if you found a trainer in an area with mostly weak Pokemon, these trainers are almost always extremely weak and not worth meeting. But this trainer was in the direct way that Alex wanted to go, so that Alex has to go another way if he wants to bypass this trainer. In addition, a small Econ/Arbok group is marked on the map that he had bought for Vermilion Forest, so that it makes no sense to go into a detour. After a few minutes, Alex's group came in front of a small cave that was surrounded by many Pokemon. In addition, Alex could see a man with a face mask and several Pokemon next to him that were almost 100 meters away from this cave entrance. When Alex looked in the direction of this man with the face covering, and he saw how this man was also watching his group at the same time. Alex's expression became more serious when he saw the face mask of this man. He knew that when a trainer hid his face in the wildness, that it often had two reasons. That he is famous and doesn't want to be annoyed by his fans, or he's a criminal who doesn't want to show his face when breaking laws. There may be other reasons, but these two should be the most likely. Alex looked at the info from the Pokemon next to the man. Pokemon, Pidgeot. LV, 48. Type, normal/flying. Abilities, keen eye. Gender, male. Potential, silver. Pokemon, Scolipede. LV, 46. Type, bug/poison. Abilities, speed boost, hidden ability. Gender, female. Pokemon, Poniard. LV, 39. Type, dark/steel. Abilities, defiant. Gender, male. Potential, gold. Pokemon, Victreebel. LV, 48. Type, grass/poison. Abilities, chlorophyll. Gender, female. Potential, shallow gold, mutated. Alex, who saw the information of the four Pokemon, showed a surprised expression, and he knew immediately who this man is, even if he hid his face. That was Adam that Alex had met several months ago in the Firewood Forest. What Alex first noticed when he saw the information from Adam's Pokemon is that Pidgeot and Scolipede only went up 2 levels after almost half a year. But Alex didn't think it was very slow. On the contrary, he thought that these two Pokemon leveled up very quickly considering the potential of these two Pokemon. Although these Pokemon don't have a bad potential, at the elite level an A-rank potential is simply not enough to be able to level quickly. In comparison, Ditto levels many times faster and will also overtake Pidgeot after a few months. Although Pidgeot and Scolipede couldn't make a big leap forward in terms of level, both Pokemon managed to train a move on the Master rank, which should increase their direct combat strength considerably. The Pokemon that has changed the most in Adam's team, compared to the last meeting, is Poniard, who is now at the elite level and has even improved his potential. Alex wasn't surprised because of what he saw from Adam's Pokemon, but because he saw that information from the Pokemon that had given him his first near-death experience. When he met this Victreebel for the first time, his system was not yet upgraded and he did not know the exact potential of this Pokemon. Just that it's on the S rank. In addition, this, mutated, was not yet visible to him. Alex always knew that this Victreebel is very strange because it was the only Pokemon he had met that had exactly 2 innate talent moves and not 3 like every other Pokemon on the S rank. He also believed that this new sign, mutated, had something to do with it too, even if he's not quite sure what it meant. Alex had some suspicions, but because this system didn't give any further explanation, he wasn't sure. Chapter 295. As Alex thought about these various things, he saw Adam suddenly start calling all Pokemon except Pidgeot back to their Pokeballs. Alex immediately understood what Adam was up to, but he just watched Adam get on the back of his Pokemon and did nothing to prevent that. Although he had considered taking Adam as one of his subordinates if he could get the Hoenn position, it is not something he will decide right away. He wants to know at least the background information of Adam and understand Adam's character better before considering such an option. Alex looked wordlessly as Adam flew away with his Pokemon and began to draw his attention to the large group of Pokemon in front of the cave. He immediately noticed that all these Pokemon are from the species Ekans/Arbok and have great differences in terms of level or potential. It took Alex a little before he could read all of the information about this 36 Pokemon group, but after looking at the information on each Pokemon he showed a bright expression. This large group of Ekans/Arbok had 2 Pokemon with an A-rank potential and even 1 Pokemon with an A-rank potential while it is below level 20. Pokemon, Arbok. LV, 35. Type, Poison. Ability, Intimidate. Gender, Male. Potential, Shallow Silver. Pokemon, Ekans. LV, 17. Type, Poison. Ability, Intimidate. Gender, Female. Potential, shallow silver. Alex felt very happy with such a lucky hit, and he started to think about the best way to attack this large group of Pokemon. This large group of Ekans/Arbok only had 3 Pokemon that barely reached elite level, 40 and 40 and 42, and is not a real challenge for Alex's team. Alex looked in the direction of Gardevoir when he said, "Can you perceive a strong Pokemon in this cave or the surroundings?" Gardevoir told Alex exactly about the Pokemon and the number of them that she can perceive even if they were weak. She also told Alex that there is no Pokemon with great energy around, so that there is no elite level Pokemon around if you exclude these 3 elite Pokemon in front of the cave. Alex showed a smile after receiving this information from Gardevoir. Okay, Ditto will first transform into Crobat and then, together with Crobat, knock 2 Pokemon from this group unconscious with 1 hit and drag them to our group. I will show you precisely which 2 Pokemon you should attack and kidnap from this group, so I hope that you do not make a mistake. After a short pause, he looked at Ditto and Crobat while he said, "Ditto will attack this Ekans. Please be careful not to use a strong attack move against this weak Ekans." Then he explained with the help of descriptions the 3rd nearest Ekans from the left and is currently sleeping on this strange-looking stone, to Ditto which Ekans he meant. Alex preferred to explain it in far too much detail than Ditto accidentally kidnapped the wrong Pokemon. After Alex was sure that Ditto knew which Ekans he was talking about, he started to look in the direction of Crobat. "Crobat, your target is this Arbok." Then Alex started to describe the Pokemon exactly as with Ditto, so the Crobat knew what Arbok Alex was talking about. Crobat looked at the Arbok that was his target and said with a disdainful expression, "It's not even at the elite level. What a waste of my skills." Alex rolled his eyes as he said, "Would you prefer me to send you against a champion-level Pokemon?" Crobat looked at Alex with a disdainful expression. "Do you always have to have the last word?" Alex suppressed himself to facepalm and started to ignore Crobat. "Gardevoir, you will try to defeat all 3 elite Arbok with Dazzling Gleam after Crobat and Ditto got out of range." After seeing Gardevoir nod, Alex continued to say, "The remaining will fight this group of Pokemon after Gardevoir's first move. Only Bastiodon and Dano stay here with me." After everyone got a task from Alex, all Pokemon started to show an expression that they understood what to do. Alex especially noticed how Vulpix had an excited expression that she was allowed to participate in such a group fight for the first time. Vulpix looked excitedly at her father's permission to take part in this fight. She looked at Bennett, who was next to her as always, and noticed that he was not showing any particular expression. Vulpix shows a slight pout when she said to Bennett with an unhappy expression, "Hey, why aren't you showing a happy expression?" Bennett showed a confused expression and looked at Vulpix as if to say that he didn't understand what he did wrong. Vulpix couldn't be angry long after seeing her brother's expression. She started to tell Bennett the specifics of this event without noticing how Alex and the rest of the Pokemon watched the two with a smile. Alex looked at his Pokemon after Vulpix finished speaking and said with a smile, "Let's go then." That's the end of this tale for now. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in part 12. Peace.